Hey guys, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Konoha killed Naruto and he became a hollow and Kami sent him back for revenge? If you enjoy this video then please like, share and do comment. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. So let us start the story.
What was there to say about Ulquiorra Schiffer? Not much unless you knew. Knew of his past life before his death and becoming a hollow Vasto Lord class to eventually become a member of Espada. Being ranked fourth strongest among them with a calculating mind and held no emotions on his face to give away anything he might have felt. Even Aizen didn't know his past, or if he did, kept it to himself. The rogue captain class Shinigami was like that in many aspects. Always knowing when to talk to someone about something, but never anything too personal, and made sure such secrets stayed between specific parties involved with no one else knowing unless he wanted them to know. Hey Ulquiorra, should I kill this one too? Is this one trash? It doesn't matter Yami, they are all trash to me. Even the ones Lord Aizen is interested in are trash. Just interesting trash that may hold some form of value to him. Besides, we have more pressing business to attend to than deal with the likes of these humans. In truth, Ulquiorra hated humans deep within his very being, though he'd never show it, and thus no one could ask why he did. Why did he hate humans? Why did he call them trash? No one knew, except for Ulquiorra. Though even he kept those reasons locked away within the deep parts of his mind where they belonged and to never to resurface again. Flashback back then. One Uzumaki Naruto was chained to a wall while sitting on a crude chair of sorts with seals on it in himself that prevented the use of chakra. It was a prison cell designed to hold S-class criminals of the highest level with no means to escape, and right now the blonde hero of Konoha was here. Or rather, Naruto should have been a hero of Konoha. Sadly, that was not the case, and to make it worse, the people he once trusted had put him here. It had happened after the Uchiha had been recovered during his traitorous backstabbing and leaving Konoha for Orochimaru with the Sound 4 on the promise of more power. Naruto had been ordered to use excessive force to bring back Sasuke if the Uchiha had in fact resisted, and the boy did in fact resist. However, upon returning home victorious, the Uzumaki blonde found himself restrained, thrown away in this cell, and visited only by the Hokage, and his so-called sensei Hitaki Kakashi. Neither of them had anything nice to say to him. Damn brat, how dare you do this to the Uchiha? Do you know how badly his body is damaged? Damn near killed him, said Tsunade, looking infuriated at the blonde. No more than he tried to do to me. Or did the scars of the Chidori become suddenly invisible to your eyes? Said Naruto, who got a backhanded fist to his face for his trouble, and while the Hokage had restrained from using her strength, it still hurt. I don't care about your injuries, brat. You are a Jinchuriki. You're expendable, an asset meant to be used and then thrown away when there was no further use for something like you, said Tsunade, glaring at the boy, who just smiled despite the bruise on his face, and blood running down the side of his mouth. One or two of his teeth felt loose. So that's how it is, huh? Throwing me away like a broken weapon, huh? I can't help but wonder, what would your family think of you now, and if any of them would spit in your face? Said Naruto before being hit with another blow to his face that did knock out a few of his teeth. Shut your mouth, brat. I've had enough of listening to the "what would my family do in my place" speeches trash like you. You disgust me, said Tsunade, seeing Naruto still trying to keep that grin on his face. So what happens to me now, Hokage-sama? I stay here the rest of my natural life? Or am I going to die on your orders just to appease the masses? Said Naruto, giving her the "I don't give a damn" look that made the woman even more infuriated. That's being decided right now, but chances are, you will die, and I'm going to see that it's extremely painful, said Tsunade before leaving the room. Then Kakashi came in a few days later. Haven't touched your food, I see, said Kakashi, seeing the so-called food made normal garbage look like a feast fit for a king. Would you eat it in my position? It's healthier for me to just starve. Why are you here, Hitaki? My life is more enjoyable without you in it, said Naruto, seeing the man's one eye frown at him. I'm here to let you know your punishment has been decided by the Hokage. You are to be killed publicly in the execution square in front of everyone and being branded as a traitor to the leaf for hurting the Uchiha, said Kakashi, seeing Naruto nodding with no surprise on his face. I already knew that. Now tell me something I don't know, said Naruto, seeing Kakashi's eye narrow again. Uchiha Sasuke is going to kill you himself in order to get the next stage of the Sharingan to further ensure he stays loyal to the village, said Kakashi, seeing Naruto think about it for a second before letting out a cruel laugh, which shocked the Junin, and the man now wondered if the boy had lost what was left of his mind. That's one hell of a joke you just told Hitaki. Sasuke getting the next level of his oh so precious Sharingan, said Naruto, laughing some more before Kakashi grabbed him by the throat and squeezed tightly. It's not a joke, demon brat. You will give Sasuke the means to have the next level, or I will make sure you feel my wrath even in death, said Kakashi before slamming the boy's head back against the wall and made Naruto see stars. Careful, Hitaki. If you kill me before my official execution, you're going to deny Sasuke his wish, and ruin things for everyone, said Naruto, seeing Kakashi trying to keep what short fuse of a temper he had in check. Just do us all a favor, Naruto. Die with some dignity. At least that way you can remove some of the stain you put on the village. Considering what you are, said Kakashi before leaving the room, but not before Naruto said one last thing, and made the Junin freeze in place. What I am, Hitaki, is a boy scorned for what I have inside of me, and nothing more. You, on the other hand, my so-called sensei, are trash. In fact, according to the so-called code you preached to Team 7 about, you along with everyone in Konoha currently dancing to the tune of those on high, are worse than trash, and when you die, hell awaits you with all the demons there waiting to take a piece out of your ass, said Naruto, laughing at the Junin, who only glared at him, and then walked away, and trying to ignore Naruto's cruel laugh that echoed into the hall. Then the day of his execution came. The people in the village came to the execution square, trying to see the demon brat finally die, and at the hands of the Uchiha no less. Naruto inwardly joked to the Kyuubi that if Tsunade was really smart, she'd sell tickets to this, and make a fortune to pay off her debts owed. The Kyuubi laughed at the joke before telling the boy how it was an honor to die in the body of someone with a spine and not cowering in the face of death. I'm going to miss our conversations, kid, said Kyuubi, while the boy just smiled and ended their mental link with each other. Time to die, loser. Don't worry though, as your death will bring me one step closer to achieving my goal of killing Itachi, and one day, becoming Hokage. Wasn't that your dream? I hope you don't mind if I take that too, said Sasuke, grinning at Naruto, as he got his Chidori ready, and the crowd cheering for the Uchiha to kill the blonde. Sasuke, you can have the dream, as I'd rather be dead than be Hokage of these idiots, and I'd rather be dead than live another minute seeing your ugly duck-butted hairstyle with your belief that everyone is inferior to you. So get it over with, you bastard. Unless, of course, you're afraid, said Naruto, knowing how to bait the Uchiha by attacking the boy's ego. I'll show you who's afraid, said Sasuke before running right at Naruto and slammed the Chidori into Naruto's chest that pierced the boy's heart while looking the blonde right in the eye. One last thing before I die, Teme. You told me in our fight that in order to achieve the power you wanted, your best friend has to die, and you said I was your best friend. Well, let me give you some news to this grand plan of yours in getting those eyes through my death, Teme. I'm not your best friend. I never was. You called me loser, a nothing, and basically claimed I'm inferior to you. Maybe I am all those things, but it is through those things that I deny you the means to achieve those eyes, and laugh at your lost opportunity to gain what you've wanted from the start, said Naruto, laughing at the shocked look on the Uchiha's face, and waited until death took him to see Sasuke had not acquired the next level of the Sharingan. In his last act in living and into death, Uzumaki Naruto had won against Uchiha Sasuke. Then all went dark, and as time passed, deep within the dark abyss of Hueco Mundo, one Ulquiorra Schiffer was born in the form of a Vasto Lord, and soon came into the service of Sosuke Aizen's army when turned into an Arrancar. In his time serving in Aizen's army, Ulquiorra had found more purpose in being an Espada than he ever did being alive, and human back during the days of being Uzumaki Naruto. In fact, his time as an Espada had made him feel humans were horrible creatures, and were nothing more than trash that should be disposed of before they stink up the world they lived in. How that happened was mostly up to him, so long as it didn't conflict with Aizen's own orders. What would you have me say? Don't worry, I'm sure he's still alive. Ridiculous. I am not here to comfort you. I don't understand, why are you so fixated on life and death? At any rate, your friends will soon be annihilated. So what if that's one step closer? They should have seen this coming from the start. If they couldn't see it coming, the fault lies in their own foolishness. Laughing them off as a group of idiots would be sufficient. Why can't you do that? If it were me, and my friends entered Hueco Mundo without first gauging their strength, I'd be infuriated by their stupidity. Slap. It was when Inoue Orihime slapped him that something inside of the Espada stirred long dormant within him. For a moment, a different face appeared where the girls had been, and it made the Arrancar frown inside as to who it was. She seemed familiar to him, but it never could truly surface within his mind, and Ulquiorra wondered who the other girl was that he saw. His wonder lasted for a span of a few seconds. It was immaterial to the here and now. Then the fights with Kurosaki Ichigo came. The Shinigami had impressed Ulquiorra to an extent. A sense of amusement if you will, as the boy kept rising to fight him, and not giving up. Something to do with the human's heart, as he often heard. Absurd really. Even if Ichigo reminded the Arrancar of a time long ago when another boy with similar spiky hair, similar hair color, and sheer determination in his eyes to try taking on stronger people than himself regardless of the odds. That part of the Espada's memories came and went with the wind that blew through Hueco Mundo while fighting the boy. Maybe that was why he struck Ichigo in the chest the first time with his hand directly into his heart. Was it to cement some form of respect? Brotherhood that the two would now share after the boy lost to him? It didn't matter. What mattered was the boy met his end or lived to never oppose him or Aizen ever again. Either way it didn't matter to the number 4 in rank Espada. And then that girl interfered. Twice. It was the second time Ulquiorra fought Ichigo did his memories of the past resurfaced, seeing himself in Ichigo when the Espada had been alive, becoming what he was never allowed by those he deemed trash in his past life, and once again saw a girl's face replace Orihime's own. Memories of that girl soon surfaced of a girl his age, back when he was still human, seeing her smile, blushing, and not hating him like the others did. I see. Yes, this thing in my hand is the heart? It was then Ulquiorra finally began to understand what the heart was. Even if he was too little too late to enjoy it. Or so he thought. Welcome Ulquiorra Schiffer, said a powerful voice from behind the Espada, making the Arrancar turn to see a glowing white entity that screamed power. It made Aizen seem like a low-class hollow in comparison. You are Kami, said Ulquiorra since he felt it could be no other. Correct. I have brought you here before me with an offer, said Kami, seeing the pale-skinned Espada look at him with a raised eyebrow. An offer? Interesting. Please continue, said Ulquiorra since he didn't expect this at all. I know of your past, young one. I know who you were before becoming this form that now stands in front of me. I wish to offer you the chance to return to your world you once called home, said Kami, seeing Ulquiorra narrow his eyes slightly before looking away from the deity. No, I decline. There is nothing in that world I could want. I have long since let go of my connection to that place and that world. I could care less if the world was destroyed and the trash there choked on their own blood. They deserve anything bad that happens to them, said Ulquiorra before walking away in the hopes Kami would just send him into hell or someplace where the Espada could be away from such things. Only to find himself staring at one of the secret shrines at the Hyuga compound where members of the clan go to mourn those they love, whether they be friend, family, and or lover lost due to tragic circumstances. In front of this particular shrine was a woman with long dark cascading hair, wearing a bulky jacket, and pants of light purple color. The woman's back was to him with her head down, but in doing so, it allowed the Espada's eyes to widen at the sight of the picture, and then look at the woman praying. Naruto-kun, I miss you so much. Every day I pray you are happy. That you are in heaven with your family. Knowing that despite everything this village has done to you, the life on the other side hasn't been cruel, and can be at peace knowing no one can cause you any more harm. I only wish that I had been able to visit you those 3 years ago, if only for a second, to tell you how I felt. How despite everyone hating you for the Kyuubi, I wasn't like them, and how I loved you. I still do love you. No matter what went wrong, you overcame the odds, and beat everyone at their own game. Uchiha Sasuke is still trying to find a way to get the next level of the Sharingan in order to beat his brother and curses you to this day in denying him. My father wishes me to marry soon. But I told him there is only one man I wished to marry, to have children, to grow old with, and that person is dead. He wasn't amused, and something tells me my father wishes to change my views on things when it comes to love. I don't know how long it will be before I can see you again, Naruto-kun, but I can wait, and when the time comes to join you on the other side, I will finally tell you how I feel. Believe it, said Hinata, as she finished her prayer, and quickly put the picture of the boy away, knowing that no one could see it since no one in the village was left that loved Naruto anymore. You were not meant to die that day. A mistake on my part, which is why I am giving you this chance to regain some of what was taken from your life, and a chance to fix your broken world, said Kami, seeing Ulquiorra stare at Hinata's form walking away and hiding the picture inside the bulky jacket. If I go back, what will change about me? Said Ulquiorra, seeing Kami smiling back at him for at least considering the offer. You will be alive. Your original body has long since been lost, so you must remain in your Arrancar body. However, you will be alive again, said Kami, seeing the Espada put his hand to where his heart would be if it wasn't for the hole there that signified he was a hollow. Send me back then. I just hope you understand people will die at my hands should I wish to kill them, said Ulquiorra, seeing Kami nod. I don't expect you to turn into a pacifist, Ulquiorra, said Kami, seeing the Espada nod his head and had an almost amused smile on his face. So I'm coming home. How? Amusing, thought Ulquiorra before he was consumed in a bright light, and the next thing the Espada knew, he was back in the elemental countries. Oh yes, things would become amusing very soon. Ulquiorra looked at the vast desert of wind country that led to Suna, as he felt it was the opposite of Hueco Mundo in many aspects, and yet the same in others. The cruel winds, sand everywhere, and the many different creatures that had long since learned to survive the harsh environmental hazards it held for many years. The former Espada didn't care for it though, as he had no interest in any of these things, or their similarities to the cold dark realm of the hollow world. The first thing Ulquiorra did upon finding himself here in the elemental countries was to see if all his powers were indeed still with him, and did some discreet testing. Everything he had been in terms of being an Arrancar, much less an Espada, was still intact, and had used it in terms of getting around the different places of the world using Sonido. It was almost amusing to see the looks people gave him in cities and in towns while making sure the hole still in his chest kept out of sight. The last thing Ulquiorra wanted was for some kind of unnecessary panic attack from some moron humans, who then ran to some ninja, and brought different people onto his back. Not yet. During his time wandering for the past few weeks, Ulquiorra Schiffer saw that not much had changed in this world, which wasn't really a surprise since it was roughly over 3 years to the several hundred that took place in Hueco Mundo, and realized time worked with significant difference. Again, the former Espada didn't care about that, as he had no real interest in time, and relativity to the different realms of the universe. And now here he was, just a few hundred feet away from Suna, and already there was a smell in the air of humans being the pathetic trash he had always called them in the past. Of course, the Arrancar knew it wasn't anyone from Suna, as he knew Gaara would never let anyone boss him around, and sink the village if they tried, since the sand here was one big hammer for Gaara to swing should he get pissed off. Of that, Ulquiorra remembered that much about the one-tailed Jinchuriki, and knew if there was one place he should go to see a long-lost friend, it was Suna. So why did he get this feeling something bad had just happened to Gaara? Using Sonido once again to further decrease the gap between himself to Suna, the former member of the Espada found that the village had just recently been attacked, as indicated by the tall tale signs of smoke seen from several places, and stopped when he was soon surrounded by Suna shinobi. Each of them armed, looking at him suspiciously, knowing he could be an enemy, as they had never seen someone like him before in terms of his choice of clothing, complexion, and overall form. Identify yourself, said a Suna shinobi to Ulquiorra's right. I'm here to see Sabaku no Gaara. Judging by the smoke behind your walls when I was traveling here, I came at a bad time, said Ulquiorra before he looked behind the Suna shinobi in front of him to see Hitaki Kakashi, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and some pale-skinned boy that could almost rival the Arrancar himself. With the exception of the fake smile, of course. Who are you? Said Sakura, as she saw Ulquiorra just stare at her with his unreadable face, and saw Sasuke out of the corner of her eyes narrow them at the former Espada, since his face looked similar to Itachi in terms of being emotionless. My name is Ulquiorra Schiffer. I came to this village to speak to Sabaku no Gaara. What has happened here? Said Ulquiorra, as he kept the tugging feeling in the back of his mind to obliterate the four-leaf shinobi from existence, and make himself a target. The case cage has been kidnapped by the Akatsuki. We're here to help save Gaara at the request of his siblings, since they need superior shinobi to do what they clearly can't do themselves, said Sasuke with a smirk in hopes of impressing this man before them and to make himself known to foreigners entering Suna. So Gaara is the case cage now, huh? I must congratulate my old friend when I save him myself, said Ulquiorra before turning around, having already sensed where the Akatsuki members had taken Gaara. Wait, you said you were friends with him? Since when? Said Tamari, having walked in on their conversation. Some time ago. It's been a while and I'm sure he doesn't recognize me. However, I know after we talk, he'll recall who I am, and embrace me in friendship as I did so long ago with him, said Ulquiorra, and walking away with his hands in his pockets like he always did before vanishing from sight. What kind of jutsu was that? Said Sakura while looking at Kakashi, and saw he was also confused since he had never seen anything like it either. Sasuke was seething at not being able to use his Sharingan to copy it. We'll find out more about him later. Come on you three. We need to track down the two Akatsuki members and save Gaara before that new guy does, said Kakashi, as he felt a cold shivering sensation crawl up his spine, and the Junin felt like he had just missed something important. But what was it? With Ulquiorra, it wasn't hard for the Arrancar to find the two Akatsuki members and their little hideaway. They had to conduct whatever it is they were doing in the sealed area with Gaara. In all honesty, Ulquiorra didn't care what they did so long as it was stopped before it was even started, and found the cave that the two were in with Gaara with seals on the boulder of a door to block any unwanted guests from stopping them. An unwanted guest was exactly the kind of person Ulquiorra was at the moment, as he had made it a profession during his time serving Aizen, and like any unwanted guest he did what anyone in his position would do. He grabbed the boulder with the seals on it and pulled it out of its position with it flying high into the air easily as someone would throw a kid's toy ball with the greatest of ease. The two members of the Akatsuki looked up in shock, as did the other members of the Akatsuki from their assigned projections to see the Arrancar entering the natural cave of a room, and saw Gaara on the ground with his demon about to be extracted. And who the hell are you? Do you know him, Sasori? Said Deidara, as he glared at the Arrancar, and wondered if this guy was Itachi's twin. The two had the same damn stare. My name is unimportant. I don't give out things like that to trash. I am here to retrieve Sabaku no Gaara from your care. Nothing more, said Ulquiorra while the hunched-over one named Sasori laughed like he was joking. Do you realize who we are? How strong the two of us in this room here are? Said the hunched-over one named Sasori with the Arrancar simply staring at them unimpressed. You seem to be under the impression that I care or that I should fear you for your skills. Why is it that human trash like you has this belief that you are better than everyone else? It seems to be something that I have yet to truly understand when it comes to the more arrogant side of your species. Though in all honesty, I would rather kill such pathetic pieces of trash, than try to understand them, and remove the problem altogether, said Ulquiorra, seeing the shadowy members of the Akatsuki look at him like he had grown two heads. What the fuck are you talking about? Said one of the shadowy projections. As I said before, I don't give out things like that to trash, and I intend to kill anyone that stands in my way of retrieving Sabaku no Gaara, said Ulquiorra, walking further into the room before suddenly appearing to Sasori and struck the man in the neck with enough force to knock the head clean off. With the man inside of the puppet to come out while the body Sasori was just in fell over ironically like a puppet with its strings cut. How did he move that fast? Thought Deidara while Ulquiorra picked up Gaara and then quickly appeared near the entrance exit. Deidara, Sasori, stop him now, said the shadowed projection that was in the middle of the others while Sasori revealed his puppets and Deidara was making bombs with the mouths in his hands. Right, prepare to go boom, said Deidara, grinning evilly at Ulquiorra while the former Espada just raised his right hand's index finger with a small ball of green energy forming there, much to the surprise of the Akatsuki members watching this. Sero, said Ulquiorra simply before firing his attack at them, and it was only through substitution did the two manage to escape. Using Sonido to once more land on solid sandy ground, Ulquiorra put Gaara down just before moving his head slightly to dodge the blade aimed at his head from one of the many puppets Sasori had summoned to aid him in battle. To the Arrancar's right, Deidara was forming his explosives into shapes, and waiting for the right time to strike, knowing that Gaara could not be harmed in order to extract the demon from the young case cage. Die fool, said Sasori, as his small army of puppets moved to either kill Ulquiorra, or move him away from Gaara so Deidara could blow the man up. I don't take request from trash like you, said Ulquiorra before blanketing the area with a small fraction of his spiritual pressure to freeze them both in place. As the former Espada disappeared from the puppet master's sight, only to appear behind him, and take his head clean off with one swipe of his hand. And reveal the man was in fact a living puppet. "My turn," said Deidara now that the strange invisible weight was off of him while high in the sky on his clay bird, and saw just as he was about to unleash them saw Ulquiorra was nowhere to be found. "Yes, it is," said Ulquiorra, making Deidara turn around, and was shocked beyond belief to see the Arrancar standing on his clay bird, pointing his index finger once again at him with the green ball of energy there once more. "Oh crap," thought Deidara while staring at his death. "Sero," said Ulquiorra before firing, and this time hit dead on. When Ulquiorra no longer sensed the blonde-haired Akatsuki member, he descended to the ground, and stood over Sabaku no Gaara's form. Reaching down, he checked for a pulse, and found one on his long-lost friend before turning to see Leaf Shinobi along with an elderly woman that was clearly a native of Suna. "You," said Sakura, pointing an accusing finger at Ulquiorra, who just ignored her, and made the pink-haired Kunoichi even angrier. The Arrancar remained silent at her dramatic pointing while watching the elderly woman check on Gaara, a concerned yet guilty look in her eyes, and knew she had some kind of hand in the Cage's life in growing up. Turning away from her, the Arrancar saw the Leaf Shinobi were itching for a fight, and Sasuke had wanted to get answers about the man's abilities. Ulquiorra easily deduced it was to get more power in order to kill Itachi, which the Arrancar could care less about, and began walking away. "I thought you wanted to talk to Gaara," said Kakashi calmly while the pale man just stopped to look at him with the wind blowing his white trench coat in an intimidating fashion. "I do and I will. Just not around trash from the Leaf," said Ulquiorra, seeing Sasuke and Sakura draw some kunai while preparing for a fight. "Take that back," said Sakura in a demanding screeching tone. "Why should I? It's the truth," said Ulquiorra, seeing Sasuke activate his Sharingan and Kakashi scowling at him. "Careful who you insult, Ulquiorra-san. Doing so to an Leaf Shinobi is not good for your health," said Kakashi in an authoritative voice while Ulquiorra himself just looked at him with his usual unreadable face. "This is not your country, Leaf Shinobi. I can insult you here in this one all I want. If you have a problem with hearing the truth in my words, I suggest you leave this place, and do not act superior to your betters," said Ulquiorra, seeing the Junin narrow his eye at him. "What did you say, loser?" said Sasuke before going through hand signs for a fire jutsu. "Sasuke, don't. This guy just took down 2 S-class missing nin and doesn't even look winded in the slightest," said Kakashi, as he saw Lady Chiyo still hovering protectively over Gaara, and knew the Cage would awaken soon. "You, the one responsible for saving Gaara. It's clear to me that you have some form of speed ability that surpasses anyone here. Can you take him back to Suna?" said Chiyo, as it was the only explanation for Gaara being successfully rescued from the Akatsuki, and for some reason Shukaku was not in the mood to possess him. It was almost as if Shukaku knew something was here, near Gaara with far more power than itself, and didn't wish to provoke that entity. "Of course," said Ulquiorra while giving nothing away in his voice before picking up Gaara, as he didn't want to be around these 4 Leaf Shinobi anymore than he had to for the second time today, and was gone a second later. "The Hokage will not approve of you trusting the Cage to a stranger over as Lady Chiyo," said Kakashi, seeing the old woman glare at him. "I do not serve the Hokage of Konoha. I serve the Cage," said Chiyo before heading back to Suna with the others following behind her. Suna moments later. Tamari was happy to see her brother was alive despite being unconscious, as Ulquiorra Schiffer placed Gaara on the hospital bed, and walked over to the window with his usual emotionless face giving nothing away. As he looked out the window, the Arrancar was thinking about many things that filled his mind in regards to the Leaf, the Akatsuki, and how to handle them now that he had made an enemy of the latter of the two. "Thank you for saving Gaara," said Tamari at last before bowing slightly in front of him just as Gaara started to stir. "Where am I?" said Gaara, looking at his sister, apparently talking to the dark-haired pale-skinned stranger with green eyes. "In Suna's hospital. This man here saved you from the Akatsuki," said Tamari, smiling at Gaara, and sat down next to him. "Who is he?" said Gaara, seeing Tamari's smile turn into a frown. "You don't know? He said you were friends," said Tamari, turning to see Ulquiorra not even looking back at them. "I do not know him, Tamari. I have never seen him before now," said Gaara, which made Temari's eyes widen in shock, grab her iron fan next to the bed, and went into a defensive stance to protect her brother. "Who are you?" said Temari with a hardened gaze at the Arrancar. "A friend," said Ulquiorra like it was the most simplest thing in the world. "You're lying," said Temari, seeing Ulquiorra turned his head slightly to look at her. "Am I? How?" said Ulquiorra before turning fully to face her. "Gaara has never seen you until now," said Temari while Gaara looked at the Arrancar with calculating eyes. "I see. You seem to be misinformed on some things. Gaara has never seen this version of myself until now. That much is true. However, we did meet at 1.3 years ago, in the Leaf Village during the events of the Chunin exams, and was the first person to ever defeat you in combat," said Ulquiorra, seeing Gaara's eyes widen in shock, and so did Temari's at his words. "It can't be. Uzumaki Naruto died at the hands of Uchiha Sasuke." "You look nothing like Uzumaki Naruto," said Gaara, as he had been so angry with Konoha. But politics at the time had demanded the now Cage keep the newly remade alliance with the Leaf, and not break it once more. "Yes, I know," said Ulquiorra, seeing Temari was still on guard against him. "Not that she could hurt him." "Prove to me you're Uzumaki Naruto," said Gaara, seeing the Arrancar just look at them for a moment before opening up his white trench coat and parting it to reveal the hole where his heart had been. "This should suffice," said Ulquiorra, seeing the surprise of their faces of seeing a hole in his body that went all the way through and the fact he was walking around because of it. "What about the past? Tell us something only we would know," said Temari, as she still wanted more proof, and a hole in the chest wouldn't cut it. "I summoned the boss toad summons by the name of Gamabunta to help combat you in your one-tailed state," said Ulquiorra, seeing Gaara nod slowly since no one really knew about that. "I see. You are him," said Gaara without a doubt in his voice, with Temari putting her fan away seconds later, though she was still on edge. "So, what now?" said Temari, seeing the man formerly Uzumaki Naruto not answer and head for the door before stopping. "Whatever alliance you have with the Leaf, I suggest you terminate it immediately, and seek the means for this village to stand on its own 2 feet without them for support. Do you really want to stay allies with a village that betrayed me, Gaara?" "Betrayed me for the betrayer I was sent to bring back?" said Ulquiorra, seeing Gaara narrow his eyes, and knew the memory of that moment 3 years ago burned forever in the Cage's brain. "No, I don't. The Wind Daimyo will not be happy if we try to," said Gaara, seeing his old friend nod once. "If that's the case, tell him of the Leaf's way of treating Jinchuriki for accomplishing their missions, and the truth they demand you keep secret 3 years ago about my death. See how responsive he'll be then," said Ulquiorra before leaving the room. Within the hour, the Leaf shinobi had returned to see Gaara was sitting up in his bed, and appeared to be deep in thought about something. When Kakashi tried to greet the young Cage, but the instant the Junin did, the red-haired man glared intensely at them in a way two among the group of Leaf hadn't seen in 3 years, and it was still frightening then as it was now. "Is something wrong, Cage-sama?" said Kakashi, seeing the intense look from Gaara. "Yes. Tell your Hokage that the alliance between our villages is now over," said Gaara, seeing the shock on their faces. "What? Why?" said Sakura, seeing Temari stand up now and put a hand on her hip. "Does he need a reason, Pinky? You have 6 hours to get out of Suna before we declare you hostile and throw your asses in prison for interrogation," said Temari, seeing the girl glare at him. "How dare you? Do you realize the consequences that will happen between our villages for threatening me? An Uchiha elite. We'll go to war," said Sasuke, seeing Temari smirk at him. "Bring it. You think the Wind Daimyo will be so friendly with yours after we tell him a few things about your village you demanded we kept secret?" "Hardly," said Temari, as she saw them go pale and wide-eyed at the implication of what particular secret that would be exposed. "And what brought about this sudden spark of courage?" said Kakashi, seeing Gaara's eyes narrow and killer intent fill the room. "Uzumaki Naruto's memory and your dishonoring of it," said Gaara in an icy tone that made Kakashi once again feel the shiver that ran up his spine at something being amiss. "What? That loser? You're weeping still over him?" said Sasuke before the killer intent in the room became oppressively thick and Gaara was only letting them live due to his weakened condition. "Get out of Suna. Get out or I will kill you," said Gaara with his tone of voice and killer intent proving he intended to carry out the threat. Regardless of how weak he was feeling right now. "You're going to regret this," said Sakura before they left. "Not likely," said Temari, as she knew her brother well, and knew that Naruto had been his first real friend who was taken away from him. Gaara had never gotten over the loss and had to play nice with the Leaf then due to all the things happening around them. Now there was no need to play nice, there was no need to be civil with those that turned his stomach, and there was no need to honor an alliance with a village that had no honor. The Tsuchikage did what? Yelled Tsunade at Kakashi's team after they gave their report about the incident in Suna with the Akatsuki and the newcomer that saved the Tsuchikage. The Tsuchikage has declared the alliance Suna has with the Leaf Village is over Hokage-sama. When we asked why, he claimed to be doing it in the memory of Uzumaki Naruto, and then blasted us with killer intent to further prove to us that he means business, said Kakashi, seeing the woman narrow her eyes at him. And what of this newcomer? This Ulquiorra Schiffer, said Tsunade, seeing Kakashi not meet her eyes for a second to gather his thoughts. It's hard to say where he stands in all of this. There's more than a good chance he had a hand in the Tsuchikage's decision to cancel the alliance with the Leaf, but his reason for even saving Sabaku no Gaara is still a mystery, and the story he gave when arriving at Suna's gates doesn't make sense either, said Kakashi, seeing Tsunade nod at that. That's true. We know for a fact Gaara didn't have friends growing up. His siblings don't count either. So who is this person that claims to be Gaara's friend? Said Tsunade, as she leans back in her chair deep in thought, and saw Kakashi didn't have the slightest clue. Whoever he is, it's clear the man is dangerous, and should be approached with extreme caution, said Kakashi, knowing anyone with the power to take down two S-class missing nin was someone to be think twice about fighting. I'll get Jiraiya on it. If anyone can find information about this man, it's him. Dismissed, said Tsunade, seeing the team leave and Jiraiya appeared seconds after they were gone. I'm way ahead of you, Tsunade Haim. This guy has made a lot of noise when he killed two members of the Akatsuki, and everyone is trying to find out everything there is to know about him. You, me, the leader of the Akatsuki. Even Orochimaru is looking for dirt on him, said Jiraiya before getting off the window and sat in the chair opposite of Tsunade. And what did you and they find out? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya slouch in defeat. Nothing. Absolutely. Nothing, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade's surprise. Nothing? Nothing at all? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya nod. Aside from the fact this guy is a friend of Sabaku no Gaara, there is not a single piece of information on this Ulquiorra Schiffer. And you know how dangerous a person is if you don't know anything about them when it comes to our profession, said Jiraiya, seeing the woman nod, since having information was a shinobi's greatest asset and the lack of it was a means to be destroyed. So it's like this guy dropped right out of the sky. This guy is practically a free agent, and any village that recruits him will become significantly more powerful, said Tsunade, as she knew there were lone wolf cells throughout the elemental countries, and were on occasion recruited to serve different villages. This Ulquiorra Schiffer could be one of them and could bring a lot to the table of the village he served. I don't think he's interested in joining a shinobi village. He could have joined Suna, but didn't all the same, and just left without so much as asking, much less hearing an offer, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade consider this and agreed with his assessment of that fact. Still, there is always a chance he could be hired for a job instead of us, and that in itself is bad for business for the village. I want all the Anbu teams that encounter Ulquiorra Schiffer to capture him, and if he causes too much trouble, kill him with enough of his body left behind to study, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya nod, knowing the man's body could prove beneficial if studied. I'll get right on it, said Jiraiya with a small smirk on his face, though it didn't fully reach his eyes. There is something on your mind, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya heading to the window. It's nothing. Just thinking, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade raise an eyebrow at him. About? Said Tsunade, wishing he'd clarify. The past. About Naruto, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade's eyes narrow now. What about him? Said Tsunade while seeing Jiraiya sigh. It's just. Do you ever regret what happened? That we betrayed him? His father? Mother? Sensei? Said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade scowl at him. No. Why should you? Said Tsunade coldly, seeing Jiraiya sigh again. He was our godson, Tsunade. His parents entrusted him to us in the event of his death. We neglected him and then sentenced him to death for completing the mission given to him. Your own grandmother was an Uzumaki and the first Jinchuriki of Kyuubi for Kami's sake, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade slam her hand on the desk to silence him from speaking out any further. Enough. So what if we left him to his own devices? All my life, I've been expected to be this understanding woman, and follow the path that the rest of my family took in life since Konoha's founding. Look where it got them, Jiraiya. They're all dead. Every single member of the Uzumaki clan is gone. So is mine. I'm the last member of the Senju clan and I'm going to make decision that I want to make while Hokage. Not my grandfather. Not my granduncle. Not Dan. Not Nawaki. Not Minato. Not Kushina. And certainly not Sarutobi-sensei. I will decide what I feel is right, and we both damn well know that Kyuubi is long gone thanks to what Minato did, so why should we care if the boy died so long as several major threats don't come after us? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya frown. I'm not following, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade's eyes narrow further. The Akatsuki will no longer attack us, Jiraiya. We can now focus on Orochimaru and Kabuto. You said it yourself, the Shinigami seal was not 100% safe when it came to Naruto, and the use of so much of Kyuubi's power fighting Sasuke weakened it considerably. The brat had to die and remove the demon from the village altogether so he could move on. The scar that Kyuubi has left on this village has finally been removed, and I made it happen. Something none of the other Hokages had the courage to do in the first place, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya grimace. Did it have to be public? Brand him a traitor to the leaf? Said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade shrug. I gave the people what they wanted. More support from them keep the councils in check, and it's not like the clan heads were against it either, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya shake his head. Did you ever care about him? At all? I mean, I had my spy network, but I had to leave the village, and you left out of spite, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade smirk. The Uchiha's clan isn't the only one with a mean streak hidden beneath the surface, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya let out an empty laugh. Clearly. Then again, you've always had a mean streak, and Kushina no doubt trusted you to use it against Naruto's enemies. Not against him. Well, I just thought I would ask, and see what it was that drove you to it, said Jiraiya before leaving. Baka, why should it matter now after 3 years? The brat is dead. Let the dumb fool rot in hell with the very demon sealed within his body, and let that be the end of it, thought Tsunade, as she ignored the picture behind her of the previous Hokages, and the feeling of them glaring at her for the betrayal of Uzumaki Naruto. As Tsunade told Jiraiya, she was done caring, and refused to care about things like that anymore. With Ulquiorra in Earth Country, the Arrancar was once again reminded of why he thought humans, or rather most humans, were trash in this world while watching things from above in the sky. Iwa's Anbu were hunting 2 Jinchuriki from their village, who had gone into seclusion less than 6 months ago to master the demonic power sealed within their bodies, and not be persecuted by their so-called home. The group had just caught up to 2 with the taller one named Han and the red-haired with beard face man Roshi, telling the Anbu to leave them alone. To let them be alone to master their power, and that they would return soon after completing their objective. Iwa's Anbu chose to ignore the request. We don't care what you Jinchuriki want. What matters is what the Tsuchikage wants, and right now he wants you 2 locked up while special seals are placed on you to ensure this doesn't happen again, said the Iwa Anbu captain with his weapon drawn, and the others with him followed in his movement. We do not wish to fight you. We are loyal shinobi of Iwa just as you are. Why are you making this difficult? Said Han, hearing them all chuckle at his words. Because we can. We like making things difficult for freaks like you. It doesn't matter how loyal you are to the Tsuchikage, you're still going to be treated like the filth you are, and there's not damn thing you can do about it, said another Anbu of lieutenant rank this time. They can't. But I can, said Ulquiorra from above before the thunderous weight of his spiritual pressure covered the area and saw both sides fall to their knees while the former Espada descended to the ground. Who are you? What are you? Said Han, as he was barely staying on his knees due to his demon using its chakra willingly to make the pressure more tolerable, and Roshi was doing the same. The Iwa Anbu were dead from their hearts, stopping after the spiritual pressure crushed any form of life right out of them. I am something far beyond you two. Just as you two are far beyond those Iwa shinobi, said Ulquiorra before cutting off the spiritual pressure, and then began to walk away. Wait, said Roshi, seeing the Arrancar stop and turned to look at them both. Please, take us with you, said Han, seeing the man before them raise an eyebrow. Just like that? You wish to follow me? I thought you two were loyal shinobi of Iwa, said Ulquiorra, seeing the two slowly stand up and look at each other before looking back. We were, but it was when they were about to attack, Right before you interfered did we realize that our loyalty means nothing to the Tsuchikage, or the rest of the village. Please take us with you, said Roshi, bowing his head submissively at this powerful being before him. No, where I go you cannot follow, said Ulquiorra, turning away from them and began to leave. Do you know of any place where we can go? Where we can be safe for the time being? Said Han, seeing the Arrancar stop walking once more, now staring into space while deep in thought. There is one place. There are no shinobi there, as it is a neutral country, or rather it was 3 years ago. I've been away for so long, but the people there understand what it is like to suffer from oppression as you did, and were freed of it by someone who was just like you. Go to Wave Country. It is there you will find the happiness you seek, and should you meet an old man named Tazuna, his daughter Tsunami with her son Inari. Tell them their old hero from 3 years ago says hi, said Ulquiorra before he vanished via Sonido. What do you think he means by that? Said Han, seeing Roshi was just as puzzled. It doesn't matter. We can ask the people of Wave Country questions after we get there and deliver the message. Maybe it will shed some light on who that man is, said Roshi, seeing Han shake his head in disagreement. That wasn't a man. That was something else, said Han, as they now headed to Wave, and at a moderate pace. You sensed it too? Said Roshi, seeing Han nod. He felt dark, twisted, and empty inside. Like how we have felt for years in Iwa, only it was more intense. As if he defines emptiness, said Han, seeing no other way to describe the Arrancar. Roshi could only nod in agreement. Iwa sometime later. What do you mean the entire Anbu team I sent after them was killed? Said the now angry Sandame Tsuchikage, seeing his granddaughter Kuritsuchi hold her gaze at him. It was as I just stated, Tsuchikage-sama. Each member of the squad sent after Roshi and Han were killed. However, from the looks of things, their deaths were not caused by either Han or Roshi using their abilities on them, said Kuritsuchi, as she was stumped by this turn of events, and saw the old man raise an eyebrow at her. What? Then how did they die? Said the Tsuchikage, seeing the woman was hesitant to answer him. From what we've been able to determine, they all died from their hearts stopping at the same time, and there is a bit more we learned when checking the area, said Kuritsuchi, seeing the Tsuchikage was shocked by this news. What? Said the Tsuchikage, seeing his granddaughter looking hesitant again. There was another set of footprints in the area. The problem is, they seem to appear in front of Han and Roshi before walking away from them. The clearing they were in was large with few trees to leap on, and the landing from jumping from one of those trees would have caused skidding. All the evidence we have collected points to someone with the ability to either fly or is a master of gliding to the point of making a landing like with ease, said Kuritsuchi, seeing the Tsuchikage lean back against his chair. So it's someone with a strong wind affinity. A missing nin from Suna or one of their loyal shinobi perhaps. Then again, such an affinity has been known to pop up in different villages from time to time, and the Sandame Hokage's son has it too, said the Sandame Tsuchikage, clearly puzzled by this. But not even Sarutobi Asuma has such a high level in wind affinity, and to use it to stop hearts. It's unheard of, said Kuritsuchi, seeing the Tsuchikage nod in agreement. Yes. And by now, we would have received word from our spies in the Leaf that Konoha had Han and Roshi in their custody. The same with the other villages and this Akatsuki organization that's been rumored to be hunting them. So if it wasn't the Leaf or anyone else we know interfered, who did? Said Kuritsuchi, seeing the old man in front of her look slightly more aged. That's the frightening thing, my dear. We don't know anything about this person at all, and that's the most dangerous kind of foe there is, said Tsuchikage, wondered how he would be able to deal with this. So what do we do? Said Kuritsuchi, seeing the Tsuchikage shake his head, and would have answered if a sudden intense pressure struck them both with enough force to drop them to their knees. You can start by dying, said Ulquiorra Schiffer, as he walked into the room calmly, knowing his spiritual pressure was blanketing the entire village. And now everyone was struggling to live, much less breathe through the thickness of it all. Even if it was a small percentage of his actual power. Who are you? Said Kuritsuchi, while trying not to vomit with each passing second. The pale green-eyed man with the unreadable expression his face walked towards her. That is not your business. Trash, said Ulquiorra, as he walked past her to the Sandame Tsuchikage, and picked the old man up by the throat before slowly squeezing it. Why are you doing this? Said the Sandame Tsuchikage, as he struggled to breathe, and seeing the Arrancar showing no emotions whatsoever. Because you are trash, said Ulquiorra before striking the man in the chest through the heart to form a perfect circle, pulled out his hand, flicked the blood away, and let the now dead Tsuchikage fall to the ground right in front of his granddaughter. "Be bastard, you think we'll let you get away with this? You're dead, you just don't know it," said Kuritsuchi as she tried to get up and fight this invisible weight that seemed to keep her down. "It doesn't matter what you do. I could care less. You're trash. Your whole village is filled with trash that deserves to burn. Just like the leaf," said Ulquiorra, as he was walking out of the room and slowly lessening the pressure. "And what does the leaf have to do with any of this?" said Kuritsuchi, seeing the Arrancar stop and turn his head slightly to look at her through the corner of his eye. "Everything," said Ulquiorra before he was gone from her sight, and within seconds the invisible weight that held her down was gone. "Lock down the village right now. The Tsuchikage has just been assassinated," yelled Kuritsuchi through her radio transmitter, with the alarms soon blaring, echoing throughout the village. By the time the village had been searched down to the smallest detail, it was clear that the intruder, assassin, had escaped their grasp, and far away from Iwa. Akatsuki HQ sometime later. "It's been confirmed? The Tsuchikage is dead?" said Pain seeing Itachi nod. "Yes. According to our spies, the late Sandame Tsuchikage's own granddaughter yelled it, and ordering the village into lockdown," said Itachi seeing Pain nod. "The Sandame Tsuchikage was old, but still strong. Who killed him?" said Kakuzu with curiosity in his voice. From the description given, it was the same man who killed Sasori and Deidara in Wind Country, said Itachi, seeing the shock on their faces. "This is becoming a problem. What about Iwa's Jinchuriki?" said Pain, seeing Itachi look away from him before returning his gaze. "They're not in Iwa or even in Earth Country. It's speculated this new foe took them away from their village before killing the Tsuchikage," said Itachi, seeing Pain narrow his eyes in anger at this change of events. Madara had assured him 3 years ago that even with the Kyuubi gone, the plan could still work and that they just needed to be patient. Pain has assumed Madara spoke of the 9-tailed fox would reform its body again like the 3 tails was going to do shortly in the next few months, but didn't realize the extent as to what the Yondaime Hokage had done to make that impossible, and had to play the waiting game. "Find them, Itachi. Kakuzu. Hidan. Hunt down the Nibi vessel. I want her here to extract the 2-tailed demon immediately," said Pain, making sure the tone in his voice left no room for arguing. They were in no position to argue. Hyuga compound. Hinata walked to the shrine once more, the picture of Naruto tucked away in her jacket, and was glad her father was out of the house on business elsewhere in the village. She didn't want him trying to surprise her again while making this pilgrimage to the shrine to pray for Naruto, even when he knew about this, and had told his daughter to stop. Hinata refused, which only served to anger her father even further, and then basically made it a command. Again, Hinata refused him a second time, and even challenged the man to a fight with a victory against Hiashi, allowing the Hyuga heiress the right to visit the shrine to pray for Naruto's happiness in the afterlife. The loss to her father would be the exact opposite. To further ensure this was on the record, both Neji and Hanabi had been a witness to this event. They were also shocked to see Hinata come out victorious, fighting her father and making him honor the agreement. Still, it was a victory for Hinata, and more importantly, a victory for Naruto's soul. "I know father wishes me to marry soon within a year's time, but I refuse to marry and be with anyone other than Naruto-kun. I shall die pure just for him and to defy my clan if I must," thought Hinata, as she knew how her beauty was making the heads of many men turn to look at her, and try to make the Hyuga heiress swoon. They all failed miserably. Reaching the shrine, Hinata frowned at the sight of a note there, and saw it was addressed to her to read. Thinking it was some kind of trick or some would-be suitor trying to get her attention, she lazily opened it before reading its contents, and proceeded to drop the note with a gasp escaping her mouth at the single sentence written on it. "Thank you for praying for me, Hinata-chan. Naruto-kun," thought Hinata, as she quickly picked up the note again, and using her eyes saw it was his handwriting without any signs of the writing being a forgery. High above her, Ulquiorra Schiffer watched the Hyuga heiress looking down at the once shy girl, who would blush and press her fingers together if Uzumaki Naruto was ever mentioned in a single sentence. He had not seen her until now, but even from his current position, the Arrancar could tell Hinata was a knockout, and any guy would be an idiot to break her heart. "One day, Hinata-chan, one day we will be together again, and maybe Just maybe. Both of us can fill the emptiness in our souls together. Thought Ulquiorra while wondering if she would even accept him as he was now before vanishing from the area, knowing there were other matters to attend to. A pair of snakes hiding in rice country had to die in a long line of trash that needed to be thrown out. This information is most interesting, said Orochimaru, as he read over the report of the Sandaime Tsuchikage being assassinated in his office several days ago, and right in front of the man's own granddaughter no less. If the simple fact everyone in Iwa had collapsed on the ground from the invisible weight that hit moments earlier, the woman would have been charged with treason in assisting in the old man's death. It was also interesting how the two Jinchuriki that members of the Akatsuki were after had been missing before then had come to light and made the snake Sanin curious as to where they had gone. It wasn't that he liked Jinchuriki, as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki had given him more than enough trouble before Tsunade had surprised him in killing the brat, and the last thing Orochimaru wanted was to deal with two of them with the combined strength to equal the Kyuubi's tailed strength. It is indeed Orochimaru-sama. From what intelligence we can gather, two members of the Akatsuki, Sasori of the Red Sands, and Deidara formerly of Iwa were killed while in Suna going after the case cage. Apparently, this Ulquiorra Schiffer is a man that has a blank look on his face that rivals Uchiha Itachi, and wields what many consider to be unnatural powers, on account of him apparently being the source of that invisible weight that hit Iwa, said Kabuto, seeing Orochimaru smile an evil smile at the prospect of a new body to call his own. I want this Ulquiorra Schiffer recruited to our side, Kabuto. At least, for the moment he will be recruited, and then later I will turn him into my new body, said Orochimaru, as he saw the possibilities with this man's body, and wanted to use it to bring the elemental countries to their knees. I'll have teams prepared to find him, Orochimaru-sama, said Kabuto before the feeling an incredible weight hit him with enough force to hit face first into the ground. Orochimaru was no better, though he had at least fallen to his knees first before the face hit the ground. Explosions rocked the base, screams of pain, agony, and death echoed throughout the underground passageways that got closer with each passing second. With each second, the weight got heavier, the pressure got thicker, and the source of it got closer to the two shinobi formerly of the leaf. A blast of green energy removed the nearby wall, as the individual responsible for it entered the room, and looked down at the two shinobi. Given your level of intelligence, I thought you would have moved on from this country after the leaf learned of your base's general location 3 years ago, and lost the chance to grab Uchiha Sasuke. It seems I overestimated you. I confess that the level of stupidity shown here by you is simply disappointing to me. I honestly wished you weren't here, in this base of yours, and that I would have to actually work harder if only for another day in finding you, said Ulquiorra Schiffer, as he looked from Kabuto to Orochimaru, and just closed his eyes for a second to indicate his disappointment to them since he didn't know how to sigh. It just wasn't in him to show emotions regarding such things. Not yet anyway. You're not human, said Kabuto, finding his body healing ability was the only thing keeping him alive right now. No, I'm not. I'm no more human than Sasori of the Red Sands was after he became a living puppet, said Ulquiorra, turning from Orochimaru to Kabuto, as the medic Nin's body was constantly breaking and healing from moving under his spiritual pressure. Then what are you? Said Orochimaru, as he was finding himself more tolerable of it, and was able to stand on his knees. Despair, said Ulquiorra before bringing his foot down on Kabuto's skull and crushed it with ease, so all that was left was a blood stain. No way to regenerate. What is your goal in coming after us? Who sent you to do this? What is your purpose for accomplishing what the Sandaime Hokage could not? Said Orochimaru, seeing Ulquiorra look at him with a raised eyebrow. There is no goal. There is no purpose. No one sent me to kill you. I just came here to do what your sensei could not, said Ulquiorra, grabbing one of Orochimaru's arm and then yanking it right out of its socket with the Sannin screaming out in pain. Bastard. I'll make you suffer for this, said Orochimaru, seeing Ulquiorra Schiffer look at his arm for a second and then crushed it with ease that sent blood everywhere. Unlikely, said Ulquiorra before taking the other arm off in the same painful fashion with the same painful result for Orochimaru. That's what you think, said Orochimaru, as he shot Kusanagi out of his mouth at the Arankar, but Ulquiorra moved his head slightly to the left, and grabbed the blade with just the tips from 2 of his fingers. The former Espada wasn't impressed. The last act of a dying coward is to always strike out in fear. That is what you are, Snake Sanin. A weak coward, who is afraid to die, and can't get what he wants in life because of it, said Ulquiorra, seeing Orochimaru glaring at him, and painfully pulled the sword out of the Sannin's mouth with blood now running out of it in the process. How is it you know so about me when everyone else in the elemental countries knows nothing about you? Said Orochimaru, seeing Ulquiorra looking the Kusanagi blade over for a second before looking back at him. Human curiosity. Such a strange thing. Still, if you must know at least one thing about me, it's that I wish you had killed Senju Tsunade 3 years ago with this sword when your arms were just as useless to you as they are now, and put that piece of female trash out of her misery, said Ulquiorra, seeing Orochimaru's eyes narrow when looking at his green ones to no doubt remember if they had crossed paths 3 years prior. How do you know that? Only the people in that fight knew of such a specific detail, and you aren't one of them, said Orochimaru, seeing Ulquiorra's eyebrow rise yet again. Are you certain? Look closer. See if I have a familiar look to my face. Perhaps in my eyes? Said Ulquiorra, seeing Orochimaru trying even harder now to remember him, but it was clear the Sannin's memory was getting a blank, and couldn't see the Arrancar in that place 3 years ago. The Snake Sannin would have remembered someone like Ulquiorra Schiffer back then. I don't see it, said Orochimaru, hearing Ulquiorra make a noise that sounded like he was disappointed and expecting more from the infamous Snake Sannin. Again, I overestimated you, give your reputation, and set my expectation too high. How sad. I don't really want to spell it out for you, so I will just have to make this more clear so even someone of your intelligence can understand this. 3 years ago, the dead man now lying next to you was hit by one of the jutsus made by the Yondaime Hokage, and I was the one that hit him with it, said Ulquiorra, seeing Orochimaru's eyes narrow for a second and then widen to the maximum level his eyes would allow with shock clear as crystal. It can't be. It can't. You died. My spies reported your death within the hour of Sasuke performing the execution himself, said Orochimaru, not believing that the Kyuubi brat was this inhuman thing before him. I know. I was there when your prized Uchiha killed me. While I can no feel the emotion anymore since becoming what you now see before you, I do remember I felt some form of satisfaction in denying the Uchiha what he wanted from my death, and knowing he would never achieve it through me, said Ulquiorra, knowing that only the memories of his past life were the only things that allowed him to understand what certain emotions were. Then, what are you? What have you become upon your death? Said Orochimaru, before Ulquiorra simply point an index finger at him and a small ball covering the tip of that finger quickly appeared. I told you before, Orochimaru of the Sannin. I am despair. To be more accurate, I am your despair along with the rest of your former teammates who will be joining you in the near future. Sero, said Ulquiorra, as he fired the Sero right where Orochimaru's heart was, and left a hole in his chest. Looking around, the Arrancar went to the table in the room, and saw different reports filled with detailed information regarding the world. Nothing of noticeable interest in the first couple of pages to the former Espada, since most spies reported about bodies to be turned into Orochimaru's potential vessels in the future. What did catch Ulquiorra's eyes was an intelligence report from an unnamed spy in Konoha informing Orochimaru about Team 7 planning to meet with Kabuto under the means of impersonating Sasori of the Red Sands at a secret location acquired thanks to Jiraiya's spy network, in the hopes the news of Suna's greatest puppet master being dead had not reached the Sannin. If Ulquiorra had the muscle power to smirk at this moment, he would have done it right there, as he had an idea on how to make himself known to the Leaf, and further bring them into despair like he planned. They planned to meet Kabuto within the hour in the hopes of capturing the medic Nin in order to gather information on or following him to Orochimaru's exact location. They would soon be in for quite the surprise. With Team 7, stay sharp team. Captain Yamato is going to require your help in the even this meeting goes bad for us, said Kakashi into his headset to the rest of the team. Do you think Kabuto will show up? I mean, word could have reached him about Sasori being dead, and already preparing a trap for us, said Sakura into her headset. Possibly. Best case scenario, Yamato convinces Kabuto that Sasori escaped Suna, and the only thing destroyed there was a puppet. The worst case scenario is Kabuto doesn't buy it and we fight him for the information on Orochimaru. Don't hold back on him if that happens. His skill are on par with my own, said Kakashi, knowing Kabuto wasn't someone you could just take down easily and had to fight with extreme caution. The young medic Nin knew the human body well and knew how to cripple it with ease. Quiet. Someone's coming, said Yamato in his Sasori disguise at the shadowy figure walking towards him on the other side of the bridge. Only for his and the others in hiding to stare wide-eyed in surprise that the figure heading their way was not Kabuto. No, it couldn't be. How? Thought Kakashi, as he saw the figure heading towards him, and made him extremely nervous. What's he doing here? Said Sasuke angrily at seeing the figure casually walk towards Yamato without giving anything away on his face. We need to abort. That guy could kill Captain Yamato just for the disguise alone, said Sakura, knowing Ulquiorra could be convinced it was the real Sasori and just kill the man behind the impersonation just to make sure. We can't. Yamato, play it out like you survived, and don't wish to engage the man in a fight, said Kakashi, knowing they had to play this just right. What about us? Said Sasuke with his voice clearly indicating the Uchiha was itching for a fight. Be ready to move in and get Yamato out of there. Sigh. Get the brush, paper, and ink ready to make some really nasty creatures should this goes bad, said Kakashi, knowing the boys' drawing gave them temporary numbers they would need to hold off the enemy. I'm ready, said Sai, knowing time was of the essence in making such drawings and then bringing them to life. Greetings Ulquiorra-san, I did not expect to see you again so soon, said Sasori, while Ulquiorra just walked towards him with the emotionless expression on his face. Do you take me for a fool, leaf shinobi? Said Ulquiorra while staring at the fake men in front of him. What are you talking about? I'm not a leaf shinobi, said Sasori, seeing Ulquiorra look past his body for a brief second and then turn his gaze back. You think I cannot tell the difference between the real Sasori and a fake? If I could feel emotions, I'd most likely be insulted, and have a strong urge to kill you, said Ulquiorra, as he saw the fake Sasori back up slightly, and looking a tad frightened. I don't want to fight you, Ulquiorra-san. Can't we just let bygones be bygones and just be strangers in passing? Said Sasori, in the hopes of diffusing this situation from spiraling out of control. If you were the real Sasori, I would have killed you instantly like I did when the two of us met in Suna, and continued walking on. The fact you are just a fake is the only reason I don't do what I did to the real puppet master and make sure the small audience behind you understands the severity of their actions, said Ulquiorra, seeing Sasori take another step back. As I said, I am not here to start a fight with you, and wish to be left to my own devices regarding my reasons for being in Rice Country, said Sasori, seeing Ulquiorra staring at him with those soulless green eyes, and it was scaring Yamato something fierce. You mean your mission to subdue Kabuto in order to learn Orochimaru's location, said Ulquiorra, as the Arrancar sounded like he was simply stating a fact, and saw Sasori jump back in shock. You know, said Sasori, seeing Ulquiorra nod once to the question. Orochimaru has known about your mission for some time. His spies in Konoha have not all been expunged from your trash-infested village and knew of your mission to seek out Kabuto to learn of his whereabouts, said Ulquiorra before Team 7 and their sensei came out ready to fight. So you work for Orochimaru now. What are you, his son or something? You have the pale skin and freaky eyes, so the chances are pretty good, said Sakura, seeing Ulquiorra narrow his eyes slight fraction at her words, with the only way to notice being if you were mere inch from his face to see it. His son? You actually think I'm related to such a weak human? Such an insulting group of human trash standing you are, said Ulquiorra, as he saw them tense at his words, and wondered what else they were going to accuse him of being. If you're not in league with Orochimaru, then how did you know that he knew about this mission? Said Sasuke with his Sharingan eyes now active. I thought it would have been obvious given my already impressive track record when it came to fighting missing nin of this world. I killed Orochimaru of the Sannin and his subordinate Kabuto not that long ago, said Ulquiorra calmly while seeing the shocked reactions to the Sannin's death. Liar, said Sasuke, as he wanted to fight, and kill them to further prove his strength in order to advance his goal of killing Itachi. I don't lie. Lies only numb a person's pain. Numb a person's emptiness. Numb a person's despair. The truth is the most powerful weapon in the world. People are too afraid to use it out of some pitiful sense of morality to the point where they lose the ability to speak the truth at all. Ironic, really. Still, if you need further proof outside of my words, then look at this, and decide for yourself in whether I'm speaking the truth or simply telling you a lie, said Ulquiorra, as he drew Kusanagi from within his trenchcoat while keeping the hole in his chest from being seen, and just threw the weapon in an underhanded throw so it landed in between them in the middle of the bridge. Is that really Kusanagi? The sword that killed the Sandame Hokage, said Sakura, as she had heard how Orochimaru used the blade, and would have killed the old man had he not given his own life to weaken his former student. It is. Now do you see? Why numb your pain and despair with lies? The truth is far more terrifying and painful than any lie could be. When I say something, I speak the truth, and I will do it. If I say you are trash, then it is the truth. If I say I am stronger than any of you could ever be in 1,000 years, it is the truth. If I say you are going to one day die at my hands, then it is the truth, said Ulquiorra, seeing the group back away from him in some involuntary act of fear. So what now? Are you going to try and kill us here? Said Kakashi, wishing to get some kind of key emotional reading on this guy. No, why should I kill you now? Not when you can bring further despair to the leaf by reporting back to your trash of a female Hokage, said Ulquiorra, seeing them seethe in loathing at his words. Pig, said Sakura, shaking her fist at him. You seem to have misunderstood me. Your Hokage isn't trash because she's female. She is trash because she is trash. Trash does not recognize gender. You are trash just as your sensei is trash, and the same can be said about the Uchiha along with these two right here beside him, said Ulquiorra, seeing them shocked once more at his words. So everyone is trash except for you, said Sasuke, while wondering why those words made him want to go down memory lane. No, almost everyone. There is a difference, said Ulquiorra, casually, seeing them angry at his words once more. Bastard, said Sasuke, getting ready to create the Chidori to finish this guy in one shot, but Kakashi stopped, and restrained him slightly. Sasuke, no, you're strong, but not that strong, and we need to report to the Hokage about him. There will be another time and place for this. But not now, said Kakashi, seeing the Uchiha snarl at Ulquiorra, but conceded all the same, and obeyed the Junin's command. Before you go, I have a message for your Hokage, and I want you all to pay attention because I'm only going to say it once, said Ulquiorra, seeing the Leaf team look at him now with curiosity. What's the message? Said Sakura, before an intense pressure hit them all and they fell down hard while Ulquiorra went to pick up Kusanagi. Tell your Hokage. Her godson she betrayed 3 years ago wishes to show Konoha the meaning of despair, said Ulquiorra before walking away from them. Godson? No, it couldn't be, thought Kakashi, while the other of the original Team 7 could only open their eyes wide in shock. Naruto, said Sakura, calling out to the Arrancar and making the former Espada stop for a second. You remembered the name I had when alive, I see. I would have thought that you of all people would have forgotten about it within 3 minutes after my death. No doubt, you only remember it to insult me for my failures in life and to further enhance the Uchiha's supposed greatness, said Ulquiorra, seeing the girl tense slightly and knew he was correct in his assumption of her. How are you alive? I killed you. Your body was burned after I stabbed you through the chest with my Chidori, said Sasuke, knowing this might be his second chance to gain the next level of his eyes through his former loser of a teammate. You seem to be under the assumption I am human. I am not, said Ulquiorra while he just stared at the trash on the ground. Then what are you? Tell us, said Kakashi, staring into the emotionless eyes of the Arrancar before him. I keep telling you, I am despair. I am emptiness. All that you know and all that is will come to know me as the embodiment of these things, said Ulquiorra, walking away again before stopping, as if in thought for a second, and turned back to look at the group for a moment with calculating eyes. And raised his right hand before pointing his index finger at them with the green orb the size of the fingertip forming. Wait, you said you wanted us to live to report to the Hokage, said Kakashi, trying to move and possibly shield 2 of his former students. I did say that, but I also know your Hokage needs to take me seriously, and actions have always proven to be louder than words. Sero, said Ulquiorra before firing his line of green energy not at Sakura, not at Kakashi, not even Sasuke, or the pale-skinned boy that had a fake smile on his face. He aimed it at Yamato, who was still in his fake Sasori disguise, and was obliterated from entirely. Captain Yamato, said Sakura, as she could only see a fraction of what happened, but what the girl saw was enough to scare her down to the very core of her being, and knew this person claiming to be Naruto was in fact serious about killing them. Tell the Senju you trust so much that she owes her godson a very big debt, in the form of her life, said Ulquiorra before walking away and releasing the spiritual pressure that kept them pinned down. This can't be happening, said Sakura, slowly getting off the ground and looked like she was ready to freak out. It is. We need to report to the Hokage fast, said Kakashi, knowing that Ulquiorra could change his mind and kill them all. When I see you next time, loser, I will kill you, and get what I want, thought Sasuke, as he vowed to kill the loser a second time, and when he did, the next level to the Sharingan would finally be his. With Ulquiorra, the former Espada looked at the base Orochimaru resided in when alive and still did with his body, no doubt sprouting maggots if given enough time to let that happen. When the Sannin died, Ulquiorra knew the man was going to hell, as that is where souls like his went, and Ulquiorra preferred it that way. Even if by some chance Orochimaru became a hollow, the man would be ranked upon the weaker ones, and most likely be killed shortly after arriving. The same would no doubt be said for Kabuto too. Still, the base the two rotting bodies were in could cause problems if left to be found by some would-be villain seeking to take up where Orochimaru left off. That wouldn't do at all. Pointing his hand at the ground where the mass of the underground base was located, Ulquiorra's Schiffer formed a much bigger Sero than he had before now, using some of his blood to make this Sero much more powerful than its original version, and calculated the overall backlash in general this attack would no doubt cause when unleashed. Aizen, for all his reasons, had always ordered the Espada show restraint when using this type of attack when accounting for the overall devastation this would cause, and had trusted that Ulquiorra at the very least would show the necessary restraint with his power the other Espada could aspire to learning. Gran Rey Sero, said Ulquiorra, as he unleashed the attack on the base, and watched the entire vastness of the area became nothing more than a wasteland that no life could grow from. The aftershock of the world being hit by such power shook the planet to its foundation, as the Arrancar knew this would attract a great deal amount of attention, and Ulquiorra did not want the snoopers to see him here. Let the fools that came report to their masters, as it was their job, and analyze this turn of events their world just went through. Right now, Ulquiorra was feeling hungry after using so much of his power, and while he was an Arrancar the former Espada was also alive with alive bodies needing food. He couldn't help but wonder how the food in Wave Country tasted since he was last there. Ulquiorra looked at the bridge connecting to Wave Country. Feelings of some emotions he couldn't identify were now hitting him, and wondered if any of them were positive ones. While possible, he was also sure some of them were negative too, as they brought up a sense of emptiness at not having what other humans have, and made the Arrancar even more confused. Deciding not to dwell on those emotions, Ulquiorra's Schiffer walked across the bridge, hands in his pockets, and headed for the nearest restaurant to eat. Knowing money was involved, the former Espada had killed a small-time group of bandits that had just robbed an extremely rich weapons merchant, and took the money from such spoils to use in the future. Like now, given the man needed food to eat and there was the occasional need for his body to sleep, even though Ulquiorra never really understood it himself since he felt it was more a human than an Arrancar thing. Though Coyote Stark would possibly disagree given the amount of sleep the man always did in the past when in Las Noches. Refocusing on Wave Country, the former Espada could see prosperity had reached new heights for this land it had never experienced before his arrival when he was Uzumaki Naruto, and saw the people were much happier since that time. The streets were clean, the people healthy, the children happy, and the buildings no longer looking ready to fall apart at the key structure points that kept them standing. In a way, Ulquiorra was a bit impressed that the people that were suffocating a slow agonizing death could recover so much within 3 years, and show they could be strong when given proper nourishment as a whole. The former Espada would have thought more on this, but a familiar smell coming from an equally familiar form of food soon stopped Ulquiorra in his tracks, and turned to see the one place even he didn't expect to find in Wave. Walking over to the familiar place of eating, Ulquiorra entered the restaurant, and sat down on the stool that had at one point been his throne when it came to eating. "Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen, what would you like to order?" said the familiar female voice of Ayame, as she turned to see the Arrancar sitting down, and was surprised to see such a strange person eating here. "Pork and miso ramen please," said Ulquiorra, wanting to see if his appetite had made any changes since his time being Uzumaki Naruto. "Coming right up," said Ayame before heading into the back to make the order, and it was then Ulquiorra realized the girl's father wasn't in the back to make the food. "Excuse me, but I have a question I wish to ask you," said Ulquiorra, seeing the woman look at him with surprise. "Oh, what's the question?" said Ayame, seeing the man eat his food with manners that could rival daimyos. If daimyos ever ate ramen, that is. I am familiar with this ramen stand back when it was in Konoha, and I couldn't help but notice the usual chef isn't in the back. I've been out of touch for 3 years and I wish to speak with him after so long. Is he by chance out on business? Said Ulquiorra, trying to be polite and not give himself away at being rude. Memories of the woman always sneaking him some extra food when growing up had made sure he didn't offend her now. My father died almost 3 years ago. He was killed in a home invasion robbery while I was out running errands, said Ayame, now suddenly saddened at the memory of her father dying. I understand. However, I wish to know why you moved here, and not stay in Konoha. Surely the people in the Leaf were understanding of your grief and comforted you, said Ulquiorra, seeing Ayame looking sadder with a hint of being scorned mixed into it. No. If anything, I suspect the killer would have gotten away with it if caught, and the people would throw a parade, said Ayame, seeing Ulquiorra raise an eyebrow. I don't understand, said Ulquiorra, seeing the woman look hesitant to answer him. My father and I weren't exactly liked in the Leaf, given how we didn't exactly go with the flow of things when it came to certain aspects of how things ran there. And as a result, I believe my father paid the ultimate price for swimming against the tide, said Ayame, not knowing why she was telling him this. But there was something that told her she needed to tell this man the story, and hoped he understood. What was this aspect you speak of? Said Ulquiorra, having a pretty good idea, but felt this would help give him insight, and that is something he wanted when it came to the Leaf. It was regarding one Uzumaki Naruto. He was the Leaf village's Jinchuriki and held the Kyuubi in him. The poor boy was hated by the people for it. Even though he was loyal to them, they still turned on him, and killed Naruto just for completing the last mission they sent him to do. My father and I cared about Naruto so much. It broke our hearts to see him hated to such a level, and no one seemed to care it was happening. My father had even confronted Tsunade about her actions to have Naruto executed for completing the mission to retrieve the Uchiha, and while I don't know what went on in her office, I know she threatened him, said Ayame with tears running down his face. When was he killed after she threatened him? Said Ulquiorra, seeing more tears fall from her eyes. About a month later. It didn't matter if the shinobi investigating saying it was a robbery turned murder. I knew Tsunade had him killed, and I would be next if I stayed in the Leaf, so I left while taking everything I could to set up my store here. It's one of the few places I knew saw Naruto as a hero, and I felt having my store here was a good way to honor their memory, since father told me to always run the restaurant while in a happy environment with happy customers, said Ayame, seeing Ulquiorra nod and understanding that concept. Given my past, I do understand emotions, so what I say next may be considered insulting to you, and ask that you keep an open mind regarding my words. What if I told you that Uzumaki Naruto wasn't dead? Said Ulquiorra, seeing the woman glaring at him now and was a single second away from slapping him. I'd say you have 5 seconds to explain that sentence before I ask you to get out of my restaurant, said Ayame, as her hand subtly reached for the knife on the counter, and to use it in a threatening manner. My words anger you, Ayame-san, which is understandable given the loss of such a bright light in your world, and it is only reasonable you would seek an answer to my painful question. However, I speak the truth when I say Uzumaki Naruto isn't dead, and that he lives on. In a different form that you sadly wouldn't recognize, said Ulquiorra, seeing the woman's eyes now narrowing at him. How do you know my name? I never told it to you, and I know we've never met, said Ayame, seeing him nod at her. Correct. You are very perceptive for someone without any shinobi training. I know your name because I knew you back when I was a helpless, starving child and gave me food when I needed it the most, said Ulquiorra, seeing Ayame's eyes widen in shock and saw her faint in surprise at all the pieces fitting together. For reasons he didn't fully understand, Ulquiorra moved swiftly, and caught the woman before she hit the ground. Closing the restaurant temporarily, the Arrancar moved Ayame to the back, and placed her in the lounging area she had set up for herself to apparently relax after a hard day's work. Within a few minutes the woman awoke from her fainting spell, and saw Ulquiorra looking down at her before she quickly got off the couch he placed her on. You can't be Naruto-kun. You look nothing like him, said Ayame, stepping away from the impassive Arrancar in front of her. When I died, my soul was twisted mess of emptiness and despair that sent me to a realm known as Hueco Mundo that in turn changed me into what is known as a hollow. I was able to achieve the highest rank among hollows called Vasto Lord before a powerful rogue Shinigami named Aizen turned me into what you now see before you that is known simply as an Arrancar, said Ulquiorra before telling Ayame the rest about how he died a second time and was granted another chance at life here in this world by Kami in his current form. Wow, I never would have thought such a place existed for when people die, said Ayame, seeing Ulquiorra nod in agreement. It's one of 3 realms of the afterlife. Hueco Mundo is for souls who have suffered in life and can't move on. Hell is for the evil souls that do evil in this world and have caused suffering in life to others. Soul Society, or as it's commonly known as heaven, is for the pure souls that do wonderful things in life to help others, said Ulquiorra, seeing Ayame nod at his explanation of how things worked when people died. So when I die, I would go to this Soul Society place, said Ayame, seeing Ulquiorra nod his head. Correct, said Ulquiorra simply. Do you think my father is there? Said Ayame, hoping he was and not some hollow on account of his death. Yes, your father never performed an ill act against anyone in his life. There is more than a significant chance he is there now, said Ulquiorra, seeing the woman smile before she hugged him and cried into his shoulder. The sudden contact Ayame showed him shocked. Even the Arankar, since being hugged was not something he was used to, whether he was Ulquiorra Schiffer or Uzumaki Naruto. Thank you, said Ayame, seeing him raise an eyebrow at her. For what? Said Ulquiorra, wondering why she hugged and thanked him. For confirming my father's in a better place, said Ayame, smiling at him, and wished he would do the same. I wish I could say that I'm happy for you, Ayame, but such an emotion to loss to me. I died with emptiness and without a heart, said Ulquiorra, seeing Ayame become sad by this. You feel no emotions at all? Said Ayame, seeing Ulquiorra nod. Nothing, said Ulquiorra simply before turning to leave. That's horrible. Wait, where are you going now? Said Ayame, wishing he would stay. I have places to go and people to see. Some of them to kill, said Ulquiorra before he left without another word to the woman. He may be Naruto deep inside, but at the same time, he's not, thought Ayame sadly to herself. Konoha sometime later. Tsunade. I've got something, said Jiraiya, appearing in the window of the Hokage's office just as Team 7 finished their report regarding the events at the bridge. Dismissed. Kakashi, you stay. Don't breathe a single word of this to anyone. You do and you'll be executed. Bloodline be damned, said Tsunade coldly, and saw them leave the room. I got a fixed location on Ulquiorra Schiffer, said Jiraiya finally, but saw the look on the female Hokage's face, and knew something happened he missed. Shut up and listen to what I have to say, Jiraiya. Then after it's all said and done you can tell me what you know, said Tsunade, as she didn't want to repeat what was just told to her, much less want to be reminded of this, but such a thing wasn't possible, and had to fight back the overwhelming constricting in her throat before telling Jiraiya what Team 7 just reported in about. Oh Kami. That was him, said Jiraiya, falling into a chair and nearly fell out of it upon impact since his depth perception was off a bit during the landing. What do you mean, that was him? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya trying to come to terms with this information. Around that time Team 7 had left Rice Country. The area near their location was hit with an incredible force that caused a massive explosion of unimaginable force, and turned most it into a wasteland. Shinobi from all the surrounding areas are investigating. They don't know what caused it yet, but now from what you've told me about him being there, Orochimaru is dead along with Kabuto, and that it was Naruto back from the dead. Well, it explains a few things, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade nod in agreement, though it was clear she was stumped by some things. But why go after the Tsuchikage? Why not join you in wiping this all out? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya shake his head while letting out a weak chuckle with no warmth to it. Because of the abuse the 2 Jinchuriki T suffered in Iwa. Come on Tsunade, you know how Jinchuriki are treated in hidden villages. With the exception of Kumo, all Jinchuriki are hated and abused by the people in them, whether the cages in power let it happen or not. The Tsuchikage put those 2 through more hell than even Naruto did due to the Sandaime not wanting the Yondaime's son to be abused in the first place. When he killed the Tsuchikage, Ulquiorra was sending a message to every cage and village following that policy. Suna was spared because Gaara became the case cage and was loved by the village after certain truths came out his bastard father kept hidden from the people in the village, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade nod in understanding. But why go after Orochimaru? It makes no sense, said Tsunade, not seeing the former blonde's plan. Because he doesn't want anyone interfering in his plans against us. The Leaf. The very village that ordered his death in the first place. Orochimaru has been plotting to take us down for years and was an obstacle standing in Ulquiorra's way in getting to us first. He had to take our old teammate out of the equation, then destroy the area to make sure no one got a hold of work, and take over while sending a clear message at the same time to everyone else, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade raise an eyebrow at him. And what message is that? Said Tsunade, wanting to hear it from the man's own mouth. That everyone who has screwed him, and everyone else like him over, are going to be wiped out by his hands, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade's eyes widen before narrowing. Where is he, Jiraiya? Said Tsunade, seeing him hesitate. Tsunade, I don't think, said Jiraiya before Tsunade slammed her fist onto the desk and glared heatedly at him. Where is he, Jiraiya? Tell me, or Ibiki will make you tell him and he will tell me, said Tsunade, not going to let Jiraiya's sudden sprouting conscience get in the way of handling this problem. He's currently in Wave Country. One of my spies from the Merchant Guild told me he saw him walking into Wave by the bridge. Gave a full description to confirm it, said Jiraiya, seeing the woman buzz Shizune on the intercom to bring in every single Anbu the village could spare. We can still salvage this. We can still stop him, said Tsunade, getting up and pacing slightly. Stop him? Tsunade, it's clear you're not thinking clearly, and need to be reminded of the simple fact this isn't the Naruto you know. This isn't the same blonde-haired, blue-eyed, hyperactive kid we knew and betrayed 3 years ago. He's not even blonde anymore. The kid we knew became something else, and he's not taking prisoners when it comes to taking us down. When Ulquiorra Schiffer comes to kill us, he's going to kill us painfully, and without hesitation, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade narrow her eyes at him. Just when the group of Anbu she asked for came in numbering at 11. You're here for a mission of great importance. One so great that it could only be labeled a suicide mission, since I don't expect all of you to return regardless if you're successful or not. Kakashi, you're temporarily back in Anbu for this, and given the rank of captain with Jiraiya having seniority leading this team. Do you understand? Said Tsunade, seeing the man nod, and took the Anbu mask she threw at him. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Kakashi before putting on his Inu mask. Good. The mission is an assassination mission of the highest priority. You are to kill one target there. Ulquiorra Schiffer, said Tsunade, seeing them nod in understanding. What about witnesses? Said one Anbu with a bear mask. Public or private, it doesn't matter. Just kill him, said Tsunade, sensing the Anbu were a bit shocked by the sudden aggressiveness in the order given. You heard the Hokage. Let's go, said Kakashi before walking with the group out of the office, with Jiraiya being the last to leave. Though he stopped at the door to say one last thing. Tsunade, I know you don't regret what you did to Naruto 3 years ago, but that does not change the fact we were wrong, and we deserve to die for it. We brought this on ourselves, and sooner or later, we have to pay our debts owed to him. You can't run from this one, Tsunade, said Jiraiya. Tsunade now had a furious look on her face. Shut up and do your job, Jiraiya, said Tsunade, pointing at him to leave, as she didn't want to hear his words filled with regret, and trying to create a guilty conscience within her. I intend to, but don't be surprised when this team I'm leading turns up dead. Their deaths will be on your head, Tsunade. Remember that while you sit in this office waiting for him to come here to destroy the leaf, said Jiraiya before leaving the room with just enough time to dodge the thrown paperweight the female Hokage threw at him. This won't come back to hurt me. I won't let it, thought Tsunade, as she would teach the dumb brat a lesson, and make him regret ever coming back to life. Wave Country at the moment. So you finally decided to see me, said Ulquiorra while staring at the marked graves of Momochi Zabuza and Haku. Behind him, about 10 feet away, Han and Roshi stared at his back. We asked around about you, Ulquiorra Schiffer. Or rather, we asked about Uzumaki Naruto and found ourselves being told the story of a Jinchuriki being loved by the people here, said Roshi while Ulquiorra just stared at the graves without looking back. They named the bridge after you, said Han simply while hoping for some kind of reaction. They named the bridge after Uzumaki Naruto. Do I look like him? Said Ulquiorra, as he turned to stare at the two Jinchuriki, and saw them look away for a second. No, but you were him. You can't change that fact, said Roshi with Han nodding in full agreement. No, I can't. I was once Uzumaki Naruto. I'll admit that. What I'll also admit is that the boy who died had everything I do not, just as I have everything he does not, and the one thing we have in common is that we were incomplete. In a sense, said Ulquiorra, seeing the two had some idea of what he was talking about. We know you killed the Tsuchikage, and we also heard Orochimaru of the Sannin has also been killed too. Who else are you going after? Said Roshi curiously. Simple. I'm going after everyone, said Ulquiorra simply. Everyone? Said Han confused by answer. Yes, everyone. Every village. Every cage. Every shinobi that sides with the policies in treating Jinchuriki like trash and weapons to be thrown out. It's time the status quo this world has lived in to change. While I am all for bringing about despair others, it should be brought down upon those that deserve to suffer, and not those that shouldn't, said Ulquiorra before turning his head slightly and narrow his eyes. What is it? Said Han before he saw Roshi tense up and then did the same. It seems our shared sanctuary is about to be invaded, said Ulquiorra seeing the group arrive at the bridge and running across it. Akatsuki? Said Han seeing Roshi shake his head. No, they fight only using 2 members at a time. This group is meant for me alone. A problem I intend to deal with. Alone, said Ulquiorra walking away. Wait, let us help you. To repay the debt we owe for helping us, said Roshi seeing the Arrancar stop and look back at them. I can't. If they see you or use your demonic power, it will alert other shinobi villages, and the Akatsuki of your exact location. It will place this country right in the middle of a contest between various powers and possibly be destroyed in the process, said Ulquiorra seeing the two nod in understanding. It sounds like you care, said Roshi while holding back the smirk on his bearded face. I don't know. Maybe. It's hard to tell given what I am. I'm going on memories of my past life and what he would do in my place. Within reason of course, said Ulquiorra, which was true, as the memories of the past kept flooding his mind while here, and standing up for the little guy because he was the little guy had always been his MO while alive. Still, we feel a need to repay you, and wish to assist in some manner, said Han knowing they owed Ulquiorra that much. Do not interfere in this matter. That is the only way you can help me, said Ulquiorra before he used Sonido and was gone from their sight. Such emptiness. Do you think we will turn out like him when we die? Said Roshi, as he didn't want to, and yet there was always a chance. Maybe, maybe not. I think the reason he asked us to come here was to find peace in life and be free from such a possibility when we die, said Han with Roshi pondering that line of thought. So we don't become empty like himself, said Roshi seeing that blank empty look in Ulquiorra's eyes every time he stared into them. Neither Jinchuriki wanted to end up like that. With Ulquiorra. So your Hokage finally decided to stop twiddling her thumbs and drinking sake like she usually does. I actually thought she'd send more. Tell me my former sensei, should I feel insulted? Said Ulquiorra standing in the path of the Anbu and Jiraiya shortly after they made their way across the bridge. You've grown Naruto, said Jiraiya making the Anbu with him tense since they did not know that this was once the demon brat they hated. That's not my name anymore. Nor is this his body. Tsunade saw to that with the help of the Uchiha when she ordered me to be executed. Or have you forgotten that day so easily, Ero Sennin? Said Ulquiorra while memories of Uzumaki Naruto calling Jiraiya that little nickname rising up in his head once more. Your time has come, monster. By order of the Hokage, we are to kill you, and bring your body back for study, said an Enbu behind Jiraiya wearing a bird mask. Of course Tsunade does. Like all human trash in this world, she is afraid of me, and for good reason too. I'm going to kill her, said Ulquiorra casually like he was talking about the weather and making a simple observation. Not if we kill you first, said Kakashi while readying his Sharingan eye behind his mask and use some of its more potent properties. Such a weak force such as yours is going to kill me? How exactly are you all going to accomplish this feat? Said Ulquiorra with a raised eyebrow. That's none of your business, said another Enbu member of the squad wearing a wolf mask before he charged Ulquiorra with sword in hand. Wolf stop, said one of Wolf's comrades. Too little too late. The man was down faster than any of them could blink with his head now sporting a hole with Ulquiorra's hand temporarily filling it. Throwing the dead leaf shinobi to the side, the Arrancar flicked his hand clean of the blood, and didn't look the least bit impressed. Come, I wish to send more dead trash like him back to Tsunade until she finally gets the message and has seen enough of them to fight me herself, said Ulquiorra seeing all the Anbu left tense while Jiraiya seemed to be analyzing him. Ulquiorra had no doubt it was to find a way to defeat him when everyone else failed to do it themselves. He can't take us all on. Let's kill the demon filth. said another Anbu while Kakashi tried to keep them from making such foolhardy and hatred-blinding mistakes. Sadly, they wouldn't listen, and rushed in anyway while Ulquiorra just stood there with his hands once more in his pocket with an emotionless expression on his face. When the group was close enough to strike, the Arrancar easily dodged all their attacks, not that he had to given his hierro ability to take any damage they could dish out, and not even be affected by it. The only reason he dodged was to see them try their hardest and then when they had nothing left to give, crush them with the knowledge that nothing they tried had the power to defeat him. Despair only reached its peak in someone when they tried their hardest, and failed. He's not even trying. To him, everything seems pointless, and futile for us to fight. Yet Ulquiorra is not doing it out of arrogance like others would, but simply because he knows we can't win, and is just bleeding us dry of our strength, thought Jiraiya, as he watched Ulquiorra move left, right, behind an ANBU, in front of another, and scaring the shit out of them in the process with each leaf shinobi slowly losing their cool with mistakes being made with each passing second. He's making us destroy ourselves, thought Kakashi seeing Ulquiorra stop and not move when an Anbu of lieutenant rank swung his sword with the blade making contact out of the whole thing. Only for the blade to shatter upon impact. What? How did you act? Said the Anbu with a bird mask before being kicked in the throat by Ulquiorra with more than enough force to close his windpipe in a way that no form of medical assistance even from Tsunade herself could save the poor leaf shinobi. You seem to be under the impression that I dodge your attacks simply on the belief that you can hurt me with your skills and weapons if they made contact with my body. I felt it was necessary to correct that misconception on your part by letting your comrade get his chance to strike me. At least now, you can come to realize there is no chance of winning against me, and all hope is lost. Even if you did manage to cut me, it won't last for long, and there is more to my power than you could ever imagine, said Ulquiorra while staring at the slowly dying shinobi choking on the ground while impossibly trying to breathe. What is he? Thought Jiraiya, as he couldn't figure it out, and neither could Kakashi with his Sharingan eye. Another sword from yet another Anbu tried to succeed where the broken weapon of the now dead leaf shinobi had failed. But Ulquiorra was not in the weapon's path like he had allowed before, and was now a few feet away from them. Raising his hand, the Arrancar made a fist with green with black-edged colored energy forming there, and made the leaf shinobi all become tense and thinking it was the Sero they had heard so much about. Bala, said Ulquiorra firing the weaker version of the Sero and took out an entire line of 3 shinobi in one shot. What was that? Said a female Anbu member of the group, who was now terrified at seeing this new power quickly killed 3 more of her comrades, and without the slightest bit of guilt. Another way for you to die. Bala, said Ulquiorra, as he fired it yet again, and again until there was only one left with the exception of Kakashi still watching helplessly in fear at seeing so many leaf shinobi die in a gory fashion. Then Ulquiorra turned to face them. Even if I go into Sage mode, there is no way I can win, and I doubt Kakashi's skills could even do anything to him, thought Jiraiya while the last of the Anbu fighting the Arrancar fell to her knees at the sight of the horror and the will to fight stamped out of her. Are you ready to die now, trash? Said Ulquiorra seeing Kakashi concentrating on him with his Sharingan. Are you Ulquiorra? Kamui, said Kakashi using a move he had only recently been working on. Ulquiorra's eyes narrowed slightly before they widened in shock at feeling the sudden loss of right arm leaving a bloody stump near the shoulder and saw Jiraiya use this keen opportunity to go into Sage mode. Kakashi had fallen to one knee, clearly exhausted from using that attack, and could only watch the Arrancar look at where his arm was before looking at him now for that move. It would appear you have something in your arsenal worthy of my attention. I'll have to correct that mistake, said Ulquiorra calmly despite his injury and the fact he was now had a bleeding stump for an appendage. Not if I take you down first, said Jiraiya now in Sage mode and began to engage Ulquiorra in close combat. Ulquiorra however would not be put off by the Sanin's power, as he grabbed the man's fist, and kicked Jiraiya away before focusing on Kakashi once more. The Junin didn't have the strength to fight Ulquiorra after using his Sharingan's power and struggled to even look at the Arrancar staring down at him. Even if you kill me, your injury is permanent, and gives hope to the Leaf Village that you can be killed, said Kakashi seeing Ulquiorra raise an eyebrow at him like he was an idiot. You mean the loss of my arm? You still seem to be under the impression I am human and thus fall under the same natural laws as the rest of your species. I assure you I don't, said Ulquiorra, seeing Kakashi looking at him in confusion and then at where his arm had been. What are you talking about? Your arm is gone. It's, said Kakashi, but to his absolute horror, the horror of the female Anbu, and Jiraiya watching behind them. The stump Ulquiorra had for an arm regenerated. The only thing proving Ulquiorra had even lost his arm or had been damaged was the sleeve of his trench coat. As I said, I am not human, and you were foolish to assume I even was, said Ulquiorra, seeing the fear and shock in Kakashi's eyes. That's not possible. You could never heal that fast as Uzumaki Naruto, said Kakashi before gasping and crying out in shock at having Ulquiorra's hand pierce his chest where his heart was located. I am not Uzumaki Naruto. I am not a Jinchuriki anymore with the demon's power healing my fragile human body like it would in the past. Kyuubi is dead. Tsunade and the rest of the trash in the leaf got their wish in having the fox permanently removed at the expense of my human life. However, such a wish comes at a price, and that price involves facing something far worse than the Kyuubi. At least he could not control his savagery after being forced to fight when manipulated by Sharingan eyes that commanded him to attack the leaf, said Ulquiorra, seeing Kakashi's eyes widen further at this news and then gave his hand a hard twisted to further enhance the pain. Sensei. Rin. Obito. Father. I'm sorry, thought Kakashi, feeling incredible pain from the intrusion into his heart. Do you understand this pain now, Kakashi? This is the pain I felt 3 times in life when someone stabbed me in the heart with their hand when I was Uzumaki Naruto. The first 2 times when fighting the Uchiha when he went rogue, and then a 3rd time being the day of my execution. Fitting that the master of such an assassination jutsu meet his end in the same manner as me, minus the lightning, of course. I'll be sure to give your favorite student Uchiha the same courtesy. Just like he did to me those 3 long years ago, said Ulquiorra, staring into the fading life of Hitaki Kakashi. Minato-sensei? Said Kakashi, as he was now hallucinating from the pain, and saw the image of the Yondaime looking at him with disapproving eyes. Ulquiorra, however, didn't answer his delusional enforced question, and simply pulled his hand out of the Junin's chest before once again flicking blood off of it. When the Junin fell down onto the ground, Ulquiorra walked away from him, and the last 2 remaining leaf shinobi of the group. Where are you going? Said Jiraiya while still in sage mode. You still wish to fight me? Do you even realize just how much of my power is being held back right now? Do you realize that I have the power to wipe you as I am, and that to call on more of my power would just be a waste of energy to me? Surely, you are that stupid Ero Sennin? Said Ulquiorra, seeing the man narrow his eyes at him. And you just expect me to let you go now and kill more people? Said Jiraiya with the Arrancar just look at him for a second before continuing his walk away from the Sannin. I only killed trash. I would kill you and the female Anbu member right now. But I want you 2 to live and report to your Hokage. Tell that piece of leaf trash of your failure and see how she rewards you for it. Remember, I was rewarded for completing mission with an execution, and I can only imagine what the Hokage will do when she hears how you did the opposite. I imagine it will be most amusing if I were a fly on the wall of her office when that happened, said Ulquiorra, continuing the walk away and then vanished from sight using Sonido. Damn it, said Jiraiya before deactivating Sage Mode and walked over to Yugo, still too horror-struck to move. He killed them all and wasn't even remorseful, said Yugo looking at Jiraiya, who just nodded and helped her up. I know. We have to report to the Hokage and tell her the bad news, said Jiraiya before walking over to Kakashi and examined his face for the Sharingan eye. Only to find it had deactivated upon the Junin's death and was completely useless to anyone now. Do you think the Hokage would kill us for failing the mission? Like he said she would? Said Yugo, as she didn't want to die, and while she had failed a few missions in the past, the Sandaime had always understood. The current Hokage was not so kind from what she saw 3 years ago. No, she won't. The Hokage needs every shinobi she can get her hands on. We're worth more alive than dead, said Jiraiya, seeing Yugo nod. Though deep within their minds, the 2 knew that value would be tested, and may go down when they report back to the Hokage. Senju Tsunade, the 5th Hokage of Konoha, was infuriated beyond anything she had felt in all the years being alive, and was staring at Jiraiya along with the last Anbu of the team now in her crosshairs. When Jiraiya gave her the report of the obvious failure of his mission, she nearly killed him on the spot, and only stopped because like the male Sannin had told Yugo in Wave Country, they were worth more alive than dead. After Jiraiya further explained how Kakashi had actually cost Ulquiorra his arm, Tsunade thought that the last ray of hope for the village lied in the Uchiha of all people, and his damn eyes the leaf coveted so much. However, the hope died when her former teammate explained it soon regenerate, bone, nerves, muscle, and overall flesh manifested itself to replace what the Arrancar lost at the hands of Kamui ability Kakashi used. It didn't sit well with Tsunade when hearing that piece of information. So what are you saying, Jiraiya? That without Kakashi's Sharingan eye, we can't win against him, and should just accept the inevitable extermination of the Leaf Village? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya shake his head no. Of course not. What I'm saying is we go defensive. Ulquiorra wants to kill you up close and personal, Tsunade. He's going to go through the front door to do it. So we strengthen our defenses so he can't do that and then get him that way, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade think it over for a second. Very well. However, for the village to even stand a chance of surviving, I need to inform the councils and clan heads of what is coming our way, said Tsunade, knowing that she couldn't hold this off any longer. That will be fun. You know how they'll act with this news. Especially if they learn that Ulquiorra's Schiffer is really Uzumaki Naruto somehow brought back to life. Do you know how much of a panic that would cause? Said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade scoff at him like he was exaggerating. And what would you have me do, Jiraiya? Lie? The only way the village will be ready to fight Ulquiorra's Schiffer is if they know everything, said Tsunade, as she planned to call a meeting right away, and get things done. Hokage-sama, said Yugo at last, and getting the Hokage's attention. What is it? Said Tsunade while looking over some papers and not even looking at the only surviving Anbu she practically sent to their deaths. I wish to resign from Anbu effective immediately, said Yugo, as she now got the Hokage's full attention at this request, and Jiraiya shook his head at such poor timing. What? Why? Said Tsunade, seeing Yugo shaking now. After what happened in Wave, my nerves are shot, and I can't be an Anbu anymore. I'm not going to stop being a Leaf Shinobi, but I can't be a member of Anbu after what I've seen, and I just can't be in this unit anymore, said Yugo, seeing the Hokage now narrowing her eyes and didn't look pleased in the slightest. I see. Well, I'm sure your reasons for doing this are justified given the enemy you faced, and I accept your resignation from Anbu. For the moment, said Tsunade, knowing that Inoichi would have to do some mind-walking to fix this. Thank you, Hokage-sama, said Yugo before bowing and leaving the woman's office. What are you going to tell Kakashi's former genin Team 7? Said Jiraiya, knowing how they would react when hearing Kakashi was dead. The truth. I also want you working with Sasuke to help him achieve the same kind of level of Sharingan Kakashi had so he can duplicate that technique to use on Ulquiorra. If it's aimed just right, we can kill him, and put an end to this nightmare, said Tsunade, as she saw Jiraiya shake his head no, and was shocked he was defying her command. No, I'm not training the Uchiha, said Jiraiya simply. What? Why? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya let out an empty laugh. You don't get it, do you? I could train the Uchiha in everything I know and it wouldn't be enough. It would never be enough. Do you remember what Ulquiorra told me, right? He was holding back a great deal of his power, Tsunade. He was holding back, and yet the man unleashed powers that defy all logic. Both Ma and Pa were practically begging me in whispered voices to leave him alone when I went into Sage mode. Can you imagine what would happen if he unleashed more of it? Said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade staring back. Did it ever occur to you that he might be lying? He also said his body couldn't be hurt, and yet Ulquiorra lost his arm if only for a moment. So I'm betting the man's bluffing about holding back his so-called power. The kid has always been one to bluff and used the devil's luck to get out of scrapes. Nothing's changed when it comes to the brat, said Tsunade before Jiraiya slammed his hand on her desk in the hopes it would snap the woman out of such delusions. Wake up, Tsunade. This foe is not Uzumaki Naruto. No form of Ulquiorra Schiffer is the kid we knew 3 years ago. Not physically. Not mentally. The only thing that the man has of Uzumaki Naruto are the memories, and most of them are probably bad ones of him living here. Something that I keep reminding you was entirely our fault, said Jiraiya, as he just wanted the woman to understand the severity of their actions, only for Tsunade to now get in his face with hers filled with anger. And the Toad Sannin knew he was one breath away from getting his ass sent to the hospital with several bones broken for his efforts. Enough. You will prepare the Uchiha to fight Ulquiorra. This is not negotiable, Jiraiya. You will do as you have been ordered," said Tsunade, seeing the frustration in the man's eyes. "I'll try to make some effort considering I've never trained an Uchiha before, so I need to do a skill assessment so I can figure out what to do." "Are there any notes made by Kakashi on his secondary Sharingan level?" said Jiraiya, finally knowing he wasn't going to win with this hard-headed woman. "Maybe. Check his home to see if he has anything like that is lying around," said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya nod and surprisingly leave through the door rather than a window. Wave Country several days later. "Are you sure we can't talk you into staying? Maybe we can help you get your emotions back. Or at least some of them anyway," said Tazuna, with the rest of his family seeing Ulquiorra off from Wave. After killing the leaf shinobi around him, Roshi and Han had appeared with Tazuna's family after they had gone to tell them everything they knew regarding Ulquiorra's past life in being Uzumaki Naruto. The family didn't believe it at first, but when the Arrancar himself admitted it, and spoke of things only Naruto could have known during the Wave mission, did they begin to come around. It wasn't long before Ulquiorra convinced them that he was once the long-dead hero of Wave Country and was hugged by Inari crying into his torso while calling him Big Brother the whole time. It made the Arrancar feel something, but it wasn't easy to define, as memories flooded his mind of the past, and the apparent happiness felt here in Wave with the people before heading back to Konoha. Back into his own personal hell. "I cannot. Soon word will have reached others of me being here. Iwa, Konoha, and even the Akatsuki organization will come here to investigate further to see why I was here." Han and Roshi sadly cannot stay here in Wave Country any longer due to such threats, since two of those threats are hunting them, said Ulquiorra, as he had agreed to let them travel and follow him until they could find a safer location where they could be happy. "We told you before, Ulquiorra-sama. It is our honor to follow you, and will continue to do so for as long as possible," said Han, seeing Roshi nod in agreement. "If it is what you desire. I'm finding it pointless in talking the two of you out of it since you obviously won't listen to me," said Ulquiorra before refocusing on the family he had come to care for in another lifetime. "Be safe, Ulquiorra. Know that this will always be your home should you wish to come back here," said Tsunami before hugging him as a mother would their own child. "I understand," said Ulquiorra, finding himself unfamiliar with this feeling from Uzumaki Naruto's memories since he never experienced this before. "Ever. There will always be a seat for you, Han and Roshi, at my restaurant, Ulquiorra-kun. Don't you ever forget that," said Ayame, giving him a hug as well, knowing the Arrancar needed it. "I'll be sure to remember, and so will the other two. Especially you, Han," said Ulquiorra, knowing that Han had become quite taken with the woman. The taller of the two Jinchuriki, formerly of Iwa, blushed behind his mask-covered face at his name being mentioned and saw Ayame's face blush too. "Ha, not bad, kid. You'll get some of your emotions back yet," said Tazuna, knowing it was a long road ahead of the Arrancar. But the old man was confident Ulquiorra would get them back, and use them too. "Maybe. Only time will tell. Come, we have to go," said Ulquiorra, giving a bow to his long-lost friends in Wave Country and walked away. "What do we do now, father? He needs more support, if only from an indirect standpoint, and punish the leaf at the same time," said Tsunami, seeing her father rubbing his chin in thought before snapping his fingers when the pre-verbal light bulb clicked on. "I've got it. The Wave Daimyo practically turned the day of our freedom from Gato into a national holiday. We tell him everything that Konoha did and he'll cut off all trade with Fire Country," said Tazuna, seeing his daughter raise an eyebrow at him. "But how will that even help?" said Tsunami, seeing the glint in her father's eye akin to mischievousness. "Simple. Our country's sudden ending of all trade with fire would get the attention of their daimyo given the 3 years we started and create a stir with the other countries too. If I recall correctly, the daimyos are getting together soon for a big fancy party in honor of a family member getting married, and all that blue blood stuff. The Wave Daimyo can do it then, which in public will cause the others to ask questions to this action, and can make it known just how Fire Country treats its heroes," said Tazuna, seeing the others nod while trying to understand his idea. "If I remember correctly, the daimyo of Spring called Naruto-kun a hero, and made him an honorary citizen of her country," said Ayame, recalling what Naruto told her after the mission while eating at the ramen stand when in Konoha. "See, our actions will spur others to do the same. It will cause a devastating reaction that will cause the Fire Daimyo to perform a serious inquiry into what the leaf has been up to when involving Naruto. With all this happening, Ulquiorra, and the other two with him can move around without the leaf on their backs, said Tazuna excitedly while feeling like a young boy playing a strategy game he created with a friend years ago when bored. Who would have thought such a game would make him think like this now? Hokage's office 1 week later. This is outrageous, yelled Tsunade at one of the fire daimyo's 12 guardians assigned to giving her a message from the man himself. The councils and clan head were practically terrified at hearing the news of Uzumaki Naruto still being alive. Many accused him of being the Kyuubi returned in a human-like body with seemingly inhuman powers while taking the name Ulquiorra Schiffer, and soon went into ways of possibly killing it. Some suggested a trap where Jiraiya could seal the Arrancar into another child like before and then make sure they had this one locked away in a special prison cell they could make to keep such power at bay. When they went over Jiraiya's report about Hitaki Kakashi's Sharingan eye causing the temporary loss of the Arrancar's arm, they immediately demanded a way to replicate such a power be done with Sasuke's eyes, and thus allow them a chance to defeat Ulquiorra. Sadly, it seemed Kakashi's Sharingan was unique in itself when using such a power like Uchiha Shisui's own eyes had hypnotizing power, and couldn't simply be duplicated. The Sharingan eyes, while mostly the same for everyone of the clan, had its only little quirks in the form of mutating power, which never passed down from parent to child due to such mutations being stable enough to happen. Hence why there weren't any branch family members like the Hyuga did, and why Sasuke's own power mutation didn't manifest. It needed a specific trigger to happen, but Kakashi didn't have any notes on the matter, and thus leaving Sasuke back to square one with his eyes. Regardless, the Fire Daimyo has only recently become aware of what is going on, as he was already growing concerned when you didn't respond to his message about why Suna has ended their alliance, and had himself a heated argument with the Wind Daimyo. Not to mention Waves Daimyo has announced he is cutting off trade with Fire Country, with Springs Daimyo doing the same in regards to the dishonoring of one Uzumaki Naruto, said the Daimyo guardian, seeing Tsunade's eyes narrow at the name. What about the brat? He's nothing special, said Tsunade while cursing the boy's name in her head for doing this to her. At first glance, one would assume so, but several places say otherwise, and they were all the ones making complaints against the leaf. Our information states he was a genin-ranked shinobi of Konoha, who you have on official leaf records being executed 3 years ago on charges of treason against the village, and yet you have failed to answer the inquiry behind the charges with proof of such treason, said the daimyo guardian, seeing the female Hokage getting angrier with each passing second. I filed a report on the matter. Uzumaki Naruto severely injured Uchiha Sasuke to the point of near death, said Tsunade, keeping her explanation simple. Yes, the Fire Daimyo has read the report, but he also seems to recall the one given by the case Cage stating Uchiha Sasuke went rogue to join Orochimaru, and the Leaf team he along with his siblings went to support were sent out to bring the traitorous boy back by means of excessive force if necessary. From what Sabaku no Gaara has informed in his report, Uzumaki Naruto suffered not one, but 2 Chidori attacks to the chest at the hands of Uchiha Sasuke during his fight, and it is the opinion of the Fire Daimyo after consulting the other guardians that such a jutsu requires excessive force be returned, said the daimyo guardian, seeing Tsunade's hands tighten into fists. Uchiha Sasuke is our only means of having the Sharingan stay in the village and Rookie of the Year for his class. Uzumaki Naruto was the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki and was a failure at the Leaf Academy, said Tsunade, seeing the daimyo guardian shake his head. It doesn't matter. While Uchiha Sasuke had all the high marks in his class like you say, it was Uzumaki Naruto himself, who did all the work on those missions to make sure they were accomplished, and gained favor in those villages. From the reports the Fire Daimyo has read on these, Uchiha Sasuke has been the one given most of the credit for each them being a success, but the witnesses spoken to in our investigation regarding these missions contradict what's written down, and thus has made the Fire Daimyo look incompetent with a great deal of egg on his face. He demands an explanation, and unless you can give him a good one when he comes here next week, you will be replaced on his order, said the daimyo guardian, with Tsunade looking irate. By who? There is no one in this village remotely qualified to replace me, said Tsunade, seeing the man give her a raised eyebrow. Are you sure there isn't someone we haven't considered, Hokage-sama? Don't assume because your grandfather and granduncle founded this village means the Fire Daimyo won't replace you. They may not be physically as strong as you, But there are people the fire daimyo can trust to run this village's Hokage much better, and more efficiently than you, said the daimyo guardian before leaving. And hearing Tsunade scream of anger while cursing Naruto's name in the process. With the rookies, we really screwed up, didn't we? Said Tenten in a depressed tone while the others had different looks on their faces ranging from serious to afraid, and some even showing a form of arrogance. Yes, it is only logical we meet our end at his hands. We followed the Hokage's lead, even when wrong, and facing a former comrade with no love for us in his heart, said Shino while seeing Hinata fidget a bit with worry. But not for the reason everyone thought it was. Troublesome. We took that mission to bring you back Sasuke and this is what happens, said Shikamaru, as he had failed to understand the reason for Tsunade's actions to Naruto, but went along with it on account for his only natural instinct as a Nara male to survive the female Hokage's wrath, and stayed quiet. He won't win. He was a baka and loser then. Nothing's changed, said Sasuke arrogantly while believing Ulquiorra wasn't as strong as he wanted people to believe. The fact Kakashi could cost the Arrancar an arm meant something. There's no doubt about that, Sasuke. I can't wait to fight that abomination again myself. I'm going to show that freak of nature just what it means to cross an Inuzuka in a fight and get some payback for the Chunin exams, said Kiba smiling while thinking that Naruto just changed his name and was still just as weak as ever. And his killing of two S-class missing nin from the Akatsuki organization, Orochimaru, Kabuto, almost all the Anbu, and Hitaki Kakashi? Said Choji with a raised eyebrow. Luck. Plain and simple. Naruto was fated to die 3 years ago and will die again at our hands as Ulquiorra Schiffer, said Neji while Tenten shook her head in disagreement. You're wrong, Neji. We're all going to die and there is nothing we can do to stop it, said Tenten simply knowing that they had no chance of beating someone capable of killing so many S-class shinobi. Yes there is. We are going to crush that monster and show him what it means to defy his superiors, said Sasuke while looking forward to killing the inhuman abomination. No one seemed to notice Hinata silently walk away from them after having heard enough. With Ulquiorra, Han, and Roshi, the one Arrancar and two Jinchuriki formerly of Iwa had made their way to the border connecting Fire Country to Lightning with the intended destination being Kumo. Under normal circumstances, Ulquiorra would be in Kumo already, but his two new traveling companions had made that impossible since they would not have been able to stomach the intense speed that came from him using Sonido, and most likely puke with each time it was used. The Arrancar had wanted to experiment in using the Garganta too, but in truth the former Espada knew such a place would rip through Han, and Roshi like dog feasting on a bone. The only reason it worked in taking Orihime away was because of her own spiritual energy mixed with his own to allow the passage into Hueco Mundo from the world of the living. In truth, the demonic chakra his two companions had may upset energy from properly solidifying, and destroy them all in the process. Not something Ulquiorra wanted to happen anytime soon or ever for that matter since he had too much to do while here. They were just about to cross into Kumo when Ulquiorra stopped and his eyes narrowed ever so slightly though neither of the two behind him could see. What's wrong Ulquiorra-sama? Said Han before he too sensed it and so did Roshi. We have unwelcome company ahead, said Ulquiorra before he saw not one, not two, not three, but 4 members of the Akatsuki, and they were all looking directly at him. Ulquiorra Schiffer I presume, said Uchiha Itachi being the unspoken leader of the 4-man group. You presume correctly Uchiha Itachi. The last time I saw you, it was roughly 3 years ago, and wished for me to come with you, said Ulquiorra Schiffer walking toward them while motioning his 2 companions to stay on guard where they were. So the rumors are true. You are really Uzumaki Naruto brought back to life, said Itachi seeing Ulquiorra Schiffer raise an eyebrow at him. No, Uzumaki Naruto is dead. All that is left of that boy are his memories leading up to his death. Nothing more, said Ulquiorra while Kisame snickered for a second. Damn Itachi, this guy is just as emotionless as you, and needs to get laid, said Kisame with Kakuzu laughing a bit too at that. Hidan was just watching Ulquiorra with interest. Quiet Kisame, said Itachi while staring at Ulquiorra. I assume you are here to not just capture or kill me, but rather you are here to go after the 2 behind me, and take what does not belong to you, said Ulquiorra seeing Hidan bring out his scythe. How dare you? Jashin-sama will have your life, said Hidan readying for battle. You can't kill him Hidan. We need to extract Kyuubi's power from him, said Itachi, as that was the order given by Pain to them after the Uchiha located the Arrancar, and had reported back the man was traveling with 2 Jinchuriki. You are under the assumption Kyuubi's power still exists in this body. It does not, said Ulquiorra simply. Then what happened to the Kyuubi? It should be back by now, said Kakuzu, seeing the Arrancar raise an eyebrow at him. Kyuubi's spirit died with Uzumaki Naruto, as the Yondaime Hokage saw to that, but its power went to my new form, and became my own when my soul entered Hueco Mundo to become a Vasto Lord, said Ulquiorra, seeing Itachi frown at him. A Vasto what now? Said Kisame, frowning at the name. It's the highest rank a hollow can ever have, but truthfully such hollows of such a high rank are very rare given how strong one really is. And after I became one of them I was then turned into what stands before you as the 4th strongest of my kin that became just as I did, said Ulquiorra, seeing worry and despair grow in their eyes. Bullshit, said Kakuzu, not believing the pale man's story for a second. You wish proof I am what I say I am. Look, said Ulquiorra, opening his trench coat and revealing his hollow hole where his heart was, with opening easily showing it went out through the back. That shouldn't be possible, said Kisame, whispering to Itachi, who silently agreed, and saw Ulquiorra cover it up again. Tell me, Itachi, are you proud of younger brother? Do you know it was through him that I no longer have a heart and do not feel emotions like the rest of you can? I could easily kill an entire village filled with men, women, and children if I wanted to without so much as shedding a single tear. I would feel no regrets. No remorse. Absolutely nothing, said Ulquiorra, seeing Itachi flinch at him. You're bluffing, said Hidan, not wanting to believe someone like Ulquiorra didn't feel any emotions at all. You've forgotten already the price Rice Country has paid after I killed Orochimaru of the Sannin and his right-hand man Kabuto, said Ulquiorra, seeing the 4 members of the Akatsuki flinch when they came upon the destroy landscape of Rice Country. Nonetheless, you will come with us, and so will the 2 Jinchuriki behind you, said Itachi, with Kisame grinning now with the hopes they would resist. No, they will not, said Ulquiorra, walking towards them before vanishing in front of their eyes and then reappearing behind Hidan. He's fast. My Sharingan couldn't keep up at all, thought Itachi, with wide eyes filled with shock, with the other Akatsuki members looking at the Arrancar in the same way. I have gauged your powers. You are all weak, said Ulquiorra calmly while seeing Kisame getting angry by that statement. Weak? Weak? I'll show you weak, said Kisame, bringing Samahata out in all its glory and swung it down on Ulquiorra with all his strength. Only for the Arrancar to sidestep it. Kisame tried to hit him again, but the former Espada dodged it easily, as he knew it was child's play, and would make the blue-skinned shark man even angrier. As this happened, Itachi tried to analyze Ulquiorra's movements with his Sharingan, but found it impossible given the amount of speed the Arrancar was using, and was finding it disturbing that someone of Kisami's caliber as a swordsman was being made a fool out of by this man. Ulquiorra even jumped on top of Samahata unflinchingly before spin-kicking Kisame in the face while looking bored while doing it. Hidan tried to hit him with his side, but the Arrancar stopped it with just one finger, broke it with that same finger, and then received a bala to the chest to make the man fall down with a hole in it. Seeing the Jashin follower somehow still being alive, the Arrancar decided to test something, and activated the Garganta before throwing the man's body into the unstable pathway. As Ulquiorra suspected, the body thrown into it was torn apart with nothing left in less than a minute, and the former Espada closed it since the others would not require such a method. Kakuzu tried his hand, but Ulquiorra kicked him away with enough force to crush 4 out of the 5 hearts in his chest from the pressure behind the kick. Seeing he was still alive, Ulquiorra expanded his sense of hearing to hear the heartbeat of the surviving heart before ripping the organ out in front of the man, and turned slightly before he grabbed the spiky blade of Samahata with his bare hand. Impossible. He should be in pain, and yet this guy holds Samahata like it was made out of rubber, thought Kisame before Ulquiorra moved the sword away and struck him in the face with his elbow. If he could do this to us so easily, then what could he do against someone like Madara? Thought Itachi, with the Arrancar now walking towards, but stopped when Kisame got up from the ground, and snarled viciously at the pale-skinned boy. Don't you dare turn your back on me, said Kisame, raising his blade over his head to swing it down again, but was blocked in an instant by something long and metallic in the Arrancar's hands. And it wasn't Kusanagi. Do not think because I drew my Zanpakuto that I considered you someone worthy of my attention. I just grew bored fighting such weak trash like yourself the way I have in the past, said Ulquiorra, as he quickly disarmed Kisame, and his blade pierced the man in the heart before twisting the blade to further ensure the man could not recover from this. I need to flee, thought Itachi, as he moved quickly to get away from Ulquiorra, but now found Han and Roshi blocking him from escaping. You are not going anywhere, Uchiha Itachi, said Han while unleashing steam from his body and covered the area around them. You cannot stop me, said Itachi before a hand from behind grabbed him by the neck and squeezed hard. Your brother took my heart away from me when I died. I will now take something from him in return. His purpose, said Ulquiorra, stabbing Itachi from behind and while forcing the man down to the ground stared the man right in the eyes. Perhaps, but unlike with the others, I'll make you earn my death, and slow you down to some degree. Tsukuyomi, said Itachi, knowing before he died at Ulquiorra's hands, the Uchiha could at least weaken the Arrancar, and give his brother a fighting chance. Tsukuyomi realm, you were foolish to do this, Uchiha Itachi, said Ulquiorra casually while staring at the man in front of him. Perhaps, but I can't let you kill my little brother, and the Akatsuki must continue on with its plan regardless if I am there to help or not. For the next 72 hours, you are in my world that I control, and bring about pain like no other has experienced, said Itachi before he commanded chains to bind Ulquiorra and produced a sword before thrusting it into the Arrancar's gut. Only for the sword to break. This may be your realm for the next 72 hours, Uchiha Itachi, but there's some things even you cannot bend, and that is my ability to make my skin unbreakable to any weapon you wield, said Ulquiorra, seeing Itachi frown before doing it again with another sword and got the same result. Interesting. If physical pain in this realm will not work, then perhaps memories from your past in being Uzumaki Naruto should be enough, and bring you some form of pain, said Itachi, as he was about to do just that when the sound of a roar unlike anything he had ever heard before in his life echoed throughout the realm, and made the hairs on the Uchiha's neck stand on end. As I said before, Itachi, you were foolish, and now will pay the ultimate price. By having your soul devoured by my hollow, said Ulquiorra, seeing his Vasto Lord form before he became an Arrancar appeared and grabbed the Uchiha by both his arms so the man could not flee. This shouldn't be possible. This is my realm. I control it, said Itachi, but found he could not break out of the Tsukuyomi, and that Ulquiorra himself was free from his chains. It would appear you have been misinformed about this power of yours. You see, while this is somewhat your realm on account the power your eyes possess to manifest it, this place that the realm is created from just so happens to be within my mind, and ultimately is mine to command. Devour him, said Ulquiorra at last to his Vasto Lord, who opened its mouth, and devoured the screaming Uchiha's form head to toe. Konoha Uchiha District. For all the things Uchiha Sasuke was, fearful was not one of them, despite parts of his track record saying otherwise, and his past teammates knowing how he acted. The man's pride hated being fearful, which was why he always pushed himself to get stronger, and yet the feeling of uneasy fear was creeping up on him. He didn't like it, not one bit. I will win against you, loser. I am an Uchiha, said Sasuke to himself while resting on his side as he tried to sleep. You're still as foolish as ever, Uchiha. Still thinking you can win just because you are an Uchiha, said Ulquiorra after appearing via Garganta and got the Uchiha out of bed in fighting stance. How did you get here? Said Sasuke, wondering if he should flare his chakra to alert the shinobi patrolling in the village. You couldn't even beat me back then when I was Uzumaki Naruto. I even beat you when I died. What makes you think I'll lose now? Said Ulquiorra while ignoring the Uchiha's question. Answer me, how did you get in my house? Said Sasuke, seeing Ulquiorra take his right hand out of his pocket and threw something small at him. When Sasuke got it, he froze in shock, as it was a finger with a ring on it, and it wasn't just any ring either. It was a ring worn by members of the Akatsuki, which each ring being different, but Sasuke had long since memorized the one Itachi wore, and knew it would help identify his brother. Sasuke became shocked at the sight of this ring due to the fact this item in his hand attached to the bloody finger was Itachi's Akatsuki ring. In case you have yet to figure things out, your brother Uchiha Itachi is dead, and that his killer is standing right of you, said Ulquiorra, seeing Sasuke looking at the ring intently now, then up at him, and back at the ring before he slowly began to breathe heavily. and then screamed out in horror at the sudden realization that his ambition to avenge the Uchiha clan had been taken from him. That this man, who was once Uzumaki Naruto, had robbed him, Uchiha Sasuke, the last loyal Uchiha of Konoha, any chance of killing his brother Uchiha Itachi. And the Uchiha clan would forever weep in the afterlife of not being avenged by its final member. By the time Sasuke even focused on where Ulquiorra was, the man had left the same way he came in, and left the mentally broken Uchiha to drown in his despair. Hyuga clan compound. Hinata-sama, it's time for dinner, said Neji, knocking on his cousin's door, and waited for a response from her. He received none. Frowning, Neji knocked yet again, with the same result of not getting any kind of vocal response from Hinata, and slowly opened the door. The light was off, which didn't make sense since it wasn't time for anyone to sleep, and it was making him nervous. Seeing the bathroom light was off, Neji made his way out of the room, and noticed a note had been placed on the bed addressed to him. Dear Neji, it has become quite apparent to me that the leaf is not what it once was since the days of the Yondaime Hokage, nor will be again. The people are arrogant. My friends either regret Naruto's death now, or they are looking forward to killing him a second time once he returns to take his revenge. Something I believe he is entitled to do after we betrayed him 3 years ago for completing the you yourself were given to complete. If Naruto was to be executed for his completing it, then you should have spoken up and stated you wished to be executed with him. You didn't. None of the team assigned to bring back the Uchiha did nothing to save him. Even now, you do not think very highly of him, whether he is Uzumaki Naruto, or Ulquiorra Schiffer. I can no longer live in a village that is so hypocritical and refuses to admit making mistakes, knowing the only thing hurt was its pride. By the time you read this, Neji, I will be gone from the village, and seeking out Ulquiorra Schiffer in order to be with him. My place is with him. Not with you. Not with my sister. Not with our father. Not with the Hyuga clan. Not with Konoha. But with him. Always him. Goodbye Neji. Hyuga Hinata. Oh Kami. Hiashi-sama. Yelled Neji, as he quickly ran out of Hinata's room, and went to find his uncle before the man's eldest daughter got too far away from Konoha to track down and prevent her from getting too close to Ulquiorra Schiffer for the Arrancar to ignore. Ulquiorra knew by the tensing of the Kumo shinobi at the gate of the village. They knew just who he was, and the 2 Jinchuriki behind him. The mere sight of his presence more than likely made the 2 gate guards shake in their combat boots, but the 2 Jinchuriki with the combined tail strength of Kyuubi no doubt made them soil their pants, and were fearful of what the 3 would do to the village. I'm here to seek an audience with your Raikage, said Ulquiorra simply while stopping at the gate entrance with the 2 guards shaking, though one nodded and quickly left to get their village leader. 5 minutes later. So you're the infamous Ulquiorra Schiffer, huh? The slayer of high-rank shinobi? By your reputation, I was expecting someone with more build and muscle, and not someone with a twig body, said the Raikage, who was exact opposite in every way physically to Ulquiorra, and didn't look too impressed. Where Ulquiorra was of average height, the Raikage was tall. Where Ulquiorra was lean and slightly skinny, the Raikage had enough muscle mass to take down mountains. Skin color? Ulquiorra was pale and the Raikage a well-tanned brown. Same to you, Raikage of Kumo. Given your reputation, I heard when coming over here, I was expecting someone stronger, said Ulquiorra, seeing the Raikage looking pissed at that statement. You got a lot of guts and some balls to say that to me, punk. Even the 8 Tails knows not to do that after I took off one of its horns in battle before he was sealed into my little brother, said the Raikage, seeing Ulquiorra raise an eyebrow. While that is impressive for a human given how strong such creatures are, it's not enough to make me think twice about killing you right here, in the village should I wish it, said Ulquiorra, seeing the Raikage still having an angry look on his face. How do I know you're not going to do that now? Said the Raikage simply. If I had wanted to kill you and wipe out Kumo, this conversation would not have lasted this long, said Ulquiorra, seeing Killer Bee and Ni Yugito appeared behind him ready to defend their Raikage. Like you did with the Tsuchikage in Iwa and then Rice Country after killing Orochimaru of the Sannin in Kabuto, said the Raikage, seeing Ulquiorra nod. Exactly. Also, on the way here, I killed Uchiha Itachi, Hoshigaki Kisame, Kakuzu, and Hidan of the Akatsuki organization. I believe they were on their way here for those 2, said Ulquiorra, seeing the shock on their faces. Do you have proof of their deaths? Said the Raikage, seeing Ulquiorra nod. We saw it happen, said Han with Roshi nodding. That and I have 2 of 4 Akatsuki rings for proof of the act. I gave Uchiha Sasuke his brother's ring to further bring him to spare. Only fitting considering how through him did I lose my heart, said Ulquiorra, seeing Ni Yugito go a little green at that. Would you like to collect the bounty on them? If you do, I need some form of proof for the Uchiha's death, and something concrete for the other one, said the Raikage, seeing Ulquiorra nod and motion for Han to step forward with a sealing scroll. Will the Uchiha's head suffice? Along with Hidan's broken scythe? I also wish to collect on the bounty for Orochimaru and his assistant Kabuto using the man's sword as proof, said Ulquiorra before revealing the Kusanagi blade to them while Roshi held up Hidan's broken weapon. This will do. Most definitely, said the Raikage, seeing the head of Uchiha Itachi. I also wish to discuss a possible alliance with you for dealing with the other remaining Akatsuki members. They will come for your brother, the blonde one next to him, Han, Roshi, and the others for their master plan. We cannot allow such a thing to happen, said Ulquiorra, seeing the Raikage look at him with a calculating gaze and then turned to let them in. Jinchuriki are not well liked in the world, but my brother is all the family I have left, and could never abandon him to such a life. Yugito is also treated well here in Kumo, since my little brother would never forgive me if I gave him special treatment while a fellow Jinchuriki was scorned for what she held, said the Raikage, heading to his office with them following in behind him. And it clearly shows treating them with the respect they deserve has its benefits, said Ulquiorra, seeing the people of Kumo were being respectful to both B and Yugito. Yes, sadly, we are an island unto ourselves when it comes to this policy, and wish we could show the world how wrong they are with the way Jinchuriki are treated. The only remaining Jinchuriki left aside from the Cage in Suna, is the one in Taki, which holds the 7-tailed Jinchuriki, and uses her like a damn guard dog. They don't even let her live in the village, and yet they make sure she stays just close enough so she can't run away through years of mental abuse, bringing about fear of the outside world should she abandon them. I've tried to send agents to the area where the girl is rumored to be, but they have failed to find and capture her so she can be brought back here to see the truth, said the Raikage, seeing Ulquiorra raise an eyebrow at him. That is most impressive, Raikage-sama. Something only a few would do in your position of power if they learned of such a thing about this girl, said Ulquiorra, as he was liking this place more and more with each passing moment. Thank you, Ulquiorra-sama. As for your alliance with me and Kumo, I would humbly accept it to combat them and protect those I care about in Kumo, said the Raikage, as he sat down in his office chair and moved the barbell he used for a paperweight when not working out to go through some more paperwork. I don't intend this alliance to be just our 2 sides. I wish to have others join to combat the Akatsuki and the other villages that persecuted their Jinchuriki, said Ulquiorra, seeing the Raikage nod in understanding. I figured you would, given how you saved Suna's Cage, who is also a Jinchuriki, and then killed the Tsuchikage for treating his own like weapons. You won't find the 2 in Mist, as they aren't there anymore due to the Mizukage, who was one had been killed after the successful coup pulled there, and the other has gone missing before that. Sadly, he's been presumed dead. Most likely at the hands of the Akatsuki, I'm afraid, said the Raikage, as he could only imagine something like that happening to Yugito and his brother B. And it scared him more than it did pissing him off. Raikage-sama, I need a word with you, said a Chunin coming into the office and was hesitant to speak in front of Ulquiorra, Han, and Roshi. Speak, said the Raikage, simply, since keeping something from Ulquiorra was no doubt impossible at this point. Our scouts report a female Hyuga is near the Lightning Country border, and from what they can determine, it's a main family member, said the Chunin, seeing the man's eyes widen in surprise. Could it be? No, she wouldn't, thought Ulquiorra, hoping it wasn't Hinata. There's more. We intercepted information from one of our spies that she ran away from the Hyuga clan and Konoha, though the reason is still unknown. Several Chunin and Junin have been dispatched to bring her back before facing charges, said the Chunin, as he saw Ulquiorra rise from his chair and open the garganta near the window. Where are you going, Ulquiorra-sama? Said Yugito while shivering at the sight of that dark place he was entering. I thought it would be obvious. I'm going to save what is left of my heart, said Ulquiorra before entering the garganta while ignoring the shocked looks on their faces. With Hinata? You can't escape Hinata. Surrender and the Hokage will go easy on you, said Kiba with Shikamaru, Neji, Kurenai, and Asuma. No, my place is with Ulquiorra. I won't go back to a village that hates him even more than they did when he was still Naruto-kun, said Hinata, as she prepared herself for battle, and wasn't going down without a fight. Hinata, you have to understand, the Hokage has to do things we disagree with, but must accept nonetheless, and know every decision made is for the good of the village, said Kurenai, seeing Hinata surprisingly glare at her. When she orders the execution of someone you love, I highly doubt you'll be singing the same tune then, and be in this same spot I am now, said Hinata, seeing Kurenai trying to combat her words, but failing miserably, and the Hyuga knew she had the older woman beat. Regardless, you will be taken back, Hinata-sama, and you will be punished for this. Both the Hokage and the Hyuga clan will see to that, said Neji, as he now took several steps forward to fight her, and teach his cousin a lesson. No, she will not be punished, said Ulquiorra, appearing out of the Garganta and behind Hinata while staring at the group intently. Ulquiorra-kun, said Hinata, as she saw him look from the leaf shinobi to her, and saw the side of his lip twitch for a mere fraction of a second, that only by grace of having the Byakugan on at such close range did she even see it. Hello Hinata-chan, said Ulquiorra before looking back at the others in front of him. How did you know where I was? Said Hinata, as she didn't expect him to find her, and the fact he even came made the Hyuga woman's heart swell up. I was having a meeting with the Raikage and Kumo when a shinobi reported a spy in the leaf had informed him of you leaving Konoha with a capture team hunting you down, said Ulquiorra, seeing Neji tense up and glare at him. So you not only come back more of a monster than before, but you side with the village that cost me my father, and shame my family, said Neji, seeing the Arrancar raise an eyebrow at him. Coming from the man who tried to kill his own cousin out of anger, and wounded pride 3 years ago at the Chunin preliminaries. Your actions then and now are very much like that of a mindless hollow, said Ulquiorra, seeing Neji frown in confusion, and yet his anger seemed to increase. Shut your mouth. Hinata-sama has deserted the Hyuga clan and the Leaf Village. She will be punished, and there is nothing you can do to stop fate decreeing this will happen, said Neji before charging forward, while Ulquiorra simply took a few steps in front of Hinata with his hands in his pocket. When Neji thrust his palm forward, Ulquiorra jumped slightly onto the back of the hand with the tip of his foot, and kicked the Hyuga in the face with the other. The impact of the blow sent Neji flying back into Asuma, who had to put chakra into his feet to keep himself from falling over when catching the younger shinobi, and glared at the Arrancar. Shikamaru tried to use shadow possession on Ulquiorra, but he easily overpowered the move, and grabbed the fist aimed at him by Asuma before squeezing the man's hand until the sound of it breaking was heard, with the Junin crying out in pain. Ulquiorra then bent the arm at an odd angle, struck the Sarutobi with his free hand in the ribs, breaking quite a few of them, and the man's throat in his hands before kicking Neji away when the Hyuga tried to strike out against him. Let him go, said Kurenai, having snuck behind him and grabbed Hinata before placing a kunai to her throat. Kei Kurenai-sensei, said Hinata, as she couldn't believe her former sensei would do this, and put out a weapon against her. I said let him go or I'll slice into Hinata's throat, said Kurenai, seeing Ulquiorra look at her and then at Hinata. You would kill a former student? Just like that? Over him? Said Ulquiorra with a raised eyebrow while Kurenai's eyes narrowed. She's replaceable, said Kurenai, seeing Ulquiorra look from her to Asuma and then back into her eyes. It's clear you care for this Junin more than you're willing to admit. Just how much does he mean to you? Said Ulquiorra, seeing Kurenai once more press the kunai closer against Hinata's throat. Let him go or she dies, said Kurenai, seeing Ulquiorra look at Hinata before throwing Asuma into a nearby tree. Done. Now you let her go or I put a hole through your heart, said Ulquiorra, seeing Kurenai smirk. Look at this. It seems you do have a weakness after all, said Kurenai while Ulquiorra's eyes narrowed slightly. Last chance. Know that if you kill her, everything you love will die before you do, said Ulquiorra, seeing Kurenai going through hand signs, but a bala to Asuma's arm made her stop, and look in shock at the Junin now missing a limb. Bastard, said Kurenai, seeing Asuma crying out in pain. Judging from your one-handed hand signs, you weren't going to let Hinata go, and I had come to the immediate conclusion that you thought I was bluffing. Now you know that I'm not bluffing. The next attack goes through his heart. Let her go or he dies. If not him, then someone else on this little leaf team, if not all of them, and you will be the last to die, said Ulquiorra, seeing before charging up another bala to unleash on Asuma or Neji should he feel like it. Snarling slightly, Kurenai released Hinata from her grip, but tensed instantly when she realized Ulquiorra kept the strange attack ready to fire, and wondered why that was. Then she noticed a something crawling almost unnoticeably towards Hinata and had to hide the smirk that wished to come out knowing victory was near. Or rather what she thought was victory until Ulquiorra fired his bala into the trees where Shikamaru had hidden himself and put a fist-size hole through his chest before the now dead leaf shinobi fell off the tree. Several strikes hit him from behind thanks to Neji, as he never took his eyes off Kurenai, who now had hope rising in her heart for each strike the Hyuga prodigy hit him with. Your chakra points are now sealed, Ulquiorra-san. It's over, said Neji before striking the Arankar in the exposed temple and expecting the man to fall. He did not. Instead, Ulquiorra grabbed Neji's hand by the wrist, and broke that part of the Hyuga before breaking the arm connected to it. Turning slowly to the now in pain leaf shinobi, the two were now staring each other in the eyes, and Neji at this point finally understood the severity of his situation. You are correct, Hyuga Neji. It is over, said Ulquiorra before putting a hole into Neji's chest and threw him away into a tree where he slumped to the ground. Dead? How could you do that to Neji? He's Hinata's cousin, said Kiba with Akamaru barking at him, but the look in Ulquiorra's eyes told the dog to shut up. She'll hate you now, Baka, said Kurenai, as she was mixed between joyful and angry that Neji's death would destroy the Arankar's relationship with Hinata. If Hinata wishes to hate me, then so be it, said Ulquiorra, knowing that was always a distinct possibility, and looked at the Hyuga girl not meeting his eyes while no doubt mourning the loss of her cousin. Gatsuga, said Kiba, attacking Ulquiorra with Akamaru, but the Arankar knocked each away easily, and with the Inuzuka landing near Hinata. Demonic illusion. Tree-binding death, said Kurenai, as she had enough of this man, and put him in her genjutsu, knowing nothing short of someone with a dojutsu was going to break out this. You really think this will actually help you kill me? Said Ulquiorra, as he felt the tree wrap around him and Kurenai appear through it with a kunai in hand, and looking at him hatefully. I know it will, monster, said Kurenai before moving the kunai to his throat, but before she could do anything, a strike from behind knocked the woman down, and she saw the form of Hyuga Hinata there with the Byakugan active. I won't let you kill him, said Hinata, having come to the painful truth that all that was once pure in Konoha was dead or gone from it. Hinata, you would side with him? He killed your cousin Neji. Shikamaru is dead too. Asuma, Kiba, and Akamaru are severely injured. Why? Said Kurenai, seeing Hinata now scowling at her. Because he is everything to me. Just as I am to him. I chose Ulquiorra the moment I left the leaf. No hesitation and no turning back. You held a kunai to my throat and asked him to free your secret lover or you would kill me. He let me go, but you were going to use me against him, and called me his weakness. I will never be his weakness. Never, said Hinata, feeling a fire in her body arise that she never thought possible after Naruto's initial death until now. I was bluffing. I would never hurt you, Hinata-chan. My favorite student, said Kurenai. But Hinata wasn't buying it, and walked away from the woman before Ulquiorra himself stood in her line of sight. Go back to the Leaf Village, Kurenai. Tell your Hokage her time in this world is coming to an end, and so are all the pawns she sends against me, said Ulquiorra before walking away from the Junin before stopping and staring at Asuma clutching his bleeding stump of an arm. No, don't. Run, Asuma, said Kurenai, seeing Ulquiorra form a single green ball of energy the size of a marble on the tip of his right finger. Sero, said Ulquiorra, and put a hole in Asuma's chest. No, yelled Kurenai, as her secret lover was killed right before the woman's eyes, and cried into the ground before slamming her fist into it. Ulquiorra blocked her out, as he focused on Hinata, and gently touched the Hyuga girl's face with care like she was made out of glass. She leaned into him, savoring the feeling of his touch, and soon held him in her arms while slowly crying into his shirt. I'm ready to go now, said Hinata, feeling a hand wrap around her body, and soon felt the detachment of leaving the ground for the air. Ulquiorra was actually in the air, practically standing in the air like there was an invisible floor to stand and walk on, though Hinata dare not let go. Looking up at him, Hinata was once again surprised to see the Arankar smirk, which was an equivalent to a smile for him, and held her closer. So let's go, said Ulquiorra into her ear, as he slowly took the girl to Kumo, and enjoy the feeling her touch gave. How had he gone without feeling anything for so long? So many centuries passed since he had died, feeling emotions, and the sensations the good ones gave him despite being rare. It felt right to be held by Hinata. Kumo Raikage's office. You really trust this guy, don't you? Said Yugito, seeing Han nod, and so did Roshi. We were going to be sent back to Iwa and be conditioned to serve the Tsuchikage into being mindless weapons. Ulquiorra-sama interfered, killed the Anbu team, and told us to go to Wave Country to find happiness there. Sadly, Leaf Shinobi came there shortly after Ulquiorra-sama did to kill him, and thus made us both targets for everyone else if we stayed, said Roshi, seeing Yugito nod. Man, the Leaf is whack just like Iwa and should know better than to attack. If they were really smart, they'd stop and think rather than jump and blink. It makes my head hurt and want to blurt my feelings into their dealings, said B before being hit by a paperweight. What have I told you about rapping? Said the Raikage angrily. Sorry A, but you know me. If I'm not rapping then I'm not Killer B, said B, as he made the others sweat drop and shake their heads at him. Your way of speaking is disturbing, said Ulquiorra, walking into the room with Hinata beside him. Is this the Hyuga girl that ran away from the Leaf? Said A, as he could tell the girl was indeed one of stunning beauty, and a Hyuga too that made him curse his age. Damn it, her chest is bigger than mine, thought Yugito while the Nibby snickered at its jealous host. Yes, her name is Hinata, said Ulquiorra, seeing Han and Roshi surprisingly bow before Hinata. It is an honor, Hinata-sama, said Han, making Hinata become embarrassed at all this attention. Oh please, you don't have to bow. I'm not special, said Hinata, not knowing why they would even bow to her in the first place. But you are. You bring Ulquiorra-sama happiness. That is enough for us, said Roshi before the two rose from their positions. You do realize this could spark a war with the Leaf just by having her here, said A, as he knew such things happen for less, and could get bloody real soon. Highly unlikely. The Leaf no longer has the necessary strength to oppose Kumo. Some of their most elite shinobi are dead and Suna is no longer allied with them, with various political problems being rumored to have arisen around them, said Ulquiorra, seeing the man nod in agreement, as he had heard that too, and figured it had something to do with the Arrancar's past life. Still, Kumo having 4 Jinchuriki within its walls, plus a Hyuga main family member now will make several villages nervous, and possibly forge an unlikely alliance against us, said a, knowing the old phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, could manifest itself. If that happens, I will help you deal with it, and in exchange I request residency for all of us here in Kumo. However, should either Han or Roshi wish to leave the village once this is over, you will let them. And you will not seek to prevent them from finding their own happiness in life outside of the village, said Ulquiorra, seeing the Raikage nod. Done, said A, while Yugito was a bit shocked he would agree so soon. Thank you, Raikage-sama. Aside from Sabaku no Gara, you're the only other Kage I have come to respect, and look forward to working with you in the near future, said Ulquiorra, bowing his head slightly before leaving the office with Han, Roshi, and Hinata to find necessary dwellings until a more permanent residence could be made. Why did you agree so soon to his demands, Raikage-sama? Said Yugito, seeing B was in a bit of agreement with her. Yeah bro, you basically gave the green light with the word, go, said Killer B while scratching his head. Because it's better to be at the devil's side than be in his path, and I would rather not have Kumo in his line of sight should he wish to destroy it, said a, seeing Yugito nod in agreement at that concept, since the Nibby was really scared of Ulquiorra. Really scared? That albino is strong like Rhino, said Killer B, and was hit by a paperweight thrown by the Raikage. Damn it B, stop your rapping, yelled the Raikage, making everyone in the village sweat drop. Konoha Hokage's office 1 week later. Hokage-sama, you need to cut back on the sake, said Shizune, knowing drinking this much was unhealthy even for the best medic nin in all the world. I'll cut back when I feel like it, Shizune. Now get out, said Tsunade, as she had just come back from the hospital, finished healing what was left of the injured team sent to bring back Hyuga Hinata, only to find that one Ulquiorra Schiffer had appeared, and kill roughly half the team with the other half badly injured. The only positive thing it did was allow the woman to plead her case to stay as Hokage, as she had to convince the fire daimyo the threat Ulquiorra possessed to all the other villages, and their countries if not handled properly. Something she had claimed was possible if allowed to stay as Hokage and prepare a plan with Jiraiya to take the Arrancar down. The fire daimyo wanted Tsunade, however, that if she failed just once in any plan made to stop Ulquiorra's Schiffer, then the woman would be removed as Hokage of the Leaf, and someone else with a more level-head mind taking her place. The situation is worse than you realize, Tsunade, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade glaring at him and almost threw her sake bottle at him. If it were empty. How so? Said Tsunade before taking a swig of the bottle's contents. Ulquiorra has joined Kumo. The two Jinchuriki from Iwa have decided to join too, so long as he's there, and just recently acquired Taki's Jinchuriki the same day he took out most of the capture team. The Jinchuriki, there was a girl named Fu, who holds the seven-tailed demon inside her body, and has instantly come to like Ulquiorra after he revealed to her that everything she was told about the outside world was a lie. According to one of my spies in Kumo, they have been dubbed his Fraction, and my spy tells me they're going to meet the female Mizukage soon for a possible alliance with Kumo, said Jiraiya, knowing what that could do should it happen and succeed. When? Where? Said Tsunade, knowing this could be their chance to strike. 3 days. The Raikage and Ulquiorra intend to meet with Mizukage Terumi May to discuss a means to combat the Akatsuki in Wave Country given its current standing of neutrality with the Wave Daimyo's blessing provided they stay civil. The Spring Daimyo herself is going to be there, as she wants to see Ulquiorra herself, and see just how much of him has changed from the blonde-haired Gaki we all knew years ago. Though given Mist doesn't have any Jinchuriki anymore, I doubt they'll agree to such an alliance, and wish to stabilize their village due to the aftermath of the civil war still taking its toll on them, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade thinking this over. We need to do something to make it seem like a trap, Jiraiya, said Tsunade, seeing her old teammate thinking about it, but was coming up blank for ideas, and didn't know how to turn potential allies into enemies. Or we could just leave it alone. I doubt Mist will want to make an alliance, Tsunade. If we interfere, it could give Mist a reason to turn its efforts on us, and then they will sign such an alliance if just to destroy the Leaf, said Jiraiya, not wanting to stir up a hornet's nest. No, the Fire Daimyo wants me to nip this problem with Ulquiorra's Schiffer in the bud, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. You, along with the Matio guy, Rock Lee, Tenten, and the other remaining Rookie 9 are going to go to that meeting place to turn those two villages against each other. Akatsuki will eventually react, weakening them further, and then we strike when the brat least expects it. Said Tsunade evilly while Jiraiya just sighed. He's too powerful. Even if you could get close to him, the others won't let you, and not to mention the majority of the power in Kumo now consists of almost all the remaining Jinchuriki in the elemental countries. The only one not in Kumo is in Suna, and he'd sooner kill an Leaf ambassador that walked into his village than hear a single offer we give him, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade glaring at him. Make it work, Jiraiya. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what it cost. I want that damn brat dead, said Tsunade, as she slammed her fist into the desk, and when she emphasized the last word spoken. That's the problem, Tsunade. You don't care anymore, and that's what's going to destroy us all, thought Jiraiya, as it was bad enough he had to deal with the Uchiha currently in the hospital in the mental ward, and Inoichi trying to get the brat out of his funk. Now he had to basically plan his own death.
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comment.